Hello, everybody, and welcome into McCullough Motorsports Money Racing live from the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway. 100 laps going to be the distance here tonight. It's a long one, but it's the end of the week. You know what that means? There's going to be a lot of money on the line, and a lot of drivers are hungry to make a return to victory lane in the Superspeedway scene. Thank you all so much for tuning in here tonight. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Well, qualifying is complete, so drivers are getting gridded up. We're getting ready to get the party started. So with that, let's head right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. How about on the pole for Nightmare Esports? It's Cody Nagels to his outside, making a return. Haven't seen this name in a little while. It's Dylan Basson. Matt Lee, another one of the Nightmare Esports drivers, will roll off from that third position with Aubrey Thompson for BAR back in fourth. Michael Triscaro starts sixth here tonight. Richard Elliott to his inside in fifth. And then Paul Witt, another driver who we have not seen around the money racing scene for quite some time. He will roll off seventh here tonight. Ken McCullough Jr. rounds out row number 4 and 8th. Kenny Brady in 9th, and Justin Mills rounds out your top 10. Landon Veliky starts back in 11th in the 62 machine. Trevor Osranoff will start back in the 12th spot for the Jack Shack. Moving on back to row number 7 and 13th, it's David Flanagan. J.R. Miller for PGR eSports in 14th. Sean Corbett 15th with Mark Vondell in 16th. DJ Daniels 17th. Jared Haynes in 18th. Danny Barnes in 19th. And Mark Math rounding out your top 20. Larry McDonald starts 21st with Brian Hennings in 22nd. Danny Eshelman back in 23rd. Coleman Cosby back in 24th. Terry Wilson and James Waring will make up row 13. Jonathan Herbert and Art Greco in row 14. Nash Brambilla, Dylan Jones round out your top 30. Donald Stewart starts 31st. Brandon Smith in 32nd with William Scott in 33rd. Justin Carter 34th. Ryan Newman 35th. Zachary Williams in 36th. And Joey Galati will round out the field tonight. He rolls off from that 37th spot. Looking at the race info, it is the Mowing and Memory 265. David Flanagan, very generous to help sponsor this race, so there will be an extra $50 awarded to the winner. But again, the Mowing and Memory 265, the breakdown. We are in the Xfinity cars. The distance going to be 100 laps. 80% fuel, unlimited tires, 1 faster pair if you need it. Big setups as always, and then 3 green-white checkers as well if things get a little messy at the end. Talladega Superspeedway, over 30 degrees of banking in the corners, long straightaways, a lot of pushing and shoving. Track temp 110 degrees to start. 2.65 miles is the distance to make up 1 lap here at Talladega. 69 degrees outside, 15% humidity, partly cloudy skies, and wind at a mile an hour. It will not play a factor. All right, here we go. Pace car makes the left turn for the first time here tonight. Cody Nagels and Dylan Basin ready to lead him into the Geico restart zone for the first time here tonight. Time to go money racing on Friday night. Here we go. Green flag is in the air. We're racing at Talladega. Lap 1 is in the books, and it goes to the 6th machine of Cody Nagels for Nightmare Esports. But how about this? They are already 3 wide. Cody Nagels moves his way up to the middle lane, but on the outside, how about the prime machine? Michael Triscaro, he's already trying to make something happen. On the inside, Matt Lee got a little bit of a late jump into the race session, but already looks very comfortable as he leads the field on the inside. But we've got a lot of new paint schemes and different colors on track here tonight, and like to see a lot of them. How about the Scooby-Doo colors in the middle lane? I'm not sure exactly. Again, everybody's in new paint schemes we're not used to seeing, but I believe that's Aubrey Thompson in the Scooby-Doo machine in the 69. Yeah, sure enough it is. So good-looking colors for his Ford Mustang as he leads the middle, and he's got a teammate pushing. That's Justin Mills in the 4. Sean Corbett is there as well. So BAR's got a pretty good setup going right now, at least in that middle line. We'll see how long things last, but Usually that third lane has to fade eventually. Right now, though, it continues to look very, very strong with two really talented drivers up there. Dylan Basson leading the way in the Elliott Sadler eSports Toyota Supra, and then Michael Triscaro in the prime color Chevy Camaro trying to get that 11 clear. He's going to have to do it sooner eventually. Again, those temps are going to catch up, and that third lane is going to go to die. But right now, they still remain 3x3 as they climb the banking into turn number 3. Oh, Matt Lee, you saw that little bit of a bobble. He's got to be careful. If you bump the apron in these Xfinity cars, they get out of control really, really quick. So going to have to be very, very careful, especially when we get later into the run. It's a little bit more forgiving right now. That's why I think everybody looks so comfortable, even though we are 3 wide. But, you know, once we get, again, 80% fuel run probably takes these drivers to, if I had to guess, maybe somewhere right around 30 laps, give or take a couple. And so when you get to the end of a fuel run, it's certainly going to be hurting on tires. These cars are not going to have a lot of grip, and any moves you make, you're going to have to be very careful that you don't accidentally get into somebody else and potentially ruin a race early. Now, again, you do have that fast repair, so if you get caught up in a wreck, no harm, no foul, as long as you don't lose a lap. And even then, I mean, we still got 96, 97 laps to go, so you're going to have plenty of time to make it up. But I heard a couple drivers talking pre-race, one of them, of course, being Cody Nagels, the ERA Omega Cup Springboard champ, and one of the things that he was mentioning was green flag pit stops. And if we can get to that first one, that usually sets a trend. We see one, well, that increases the chance that we see two. We see two, we might very well see that third one. But if these drivers can make it to right around 30 laps, then that's indeed going to be at least 2 pit stops. The first one will get you to right around lap 60 after you pit, and then the second one will get you to right around lap 90. Or excuse me, yeah, that second fuel run will get you to right around lap 90. And then, so it's going to be borderline on if you have to pit a third time or not. We'll see, of course. And then if you get any cautions, that certainly changes the dynamic of the race as well. But looks like things are starting to calm back down up front, back to 2x2 for at least the first 5 to 6 rows. And then they are still 3 wide in the middle portions of the pack. That is the 96 machine trying to get something happen. DJ Daniel in the Team Watson colors. He's getting a little bit of help from Sean Corbett and Trevor Osranoff, but looks like Trevor has a little bit of internet blinking going on right now. That does not help. Again, a lot of people don't consider it because obviously it's not a problem that you account for, but whenever a car is blinking in a line, when they are not present on the racetrack, they're not pushing, they're not contributing to that draft, and you have to have at least 3 to 4 cars to get some momentum working. So notice as Ken McCullough Jr. jumps up. Watch what's going to happen to this third lane. It might take him half a lap, but they're going to start to get some momentum going, and it's going to get going a lot quicker than I initially thought. Down the Alabama Gang backstretch, watch the 03 of Ken McCullough Jr. He'll get alongside Mark Matt, but he'll look for more here as he'll try to draw even with Justin Mills down into turn number 3. You see most of the field still intact. They start to get a little bit more disorganized once you get further towards the back, but I think that's just some of the drivers that right now are content with riding around. Again, we still have plenty of laps. I mean, we're not even 10 laps in yet. Terry Wilson, one of the drivers that seems more than content right now to just ride around, maybe save a little bit of fuel, try to hit that lap 30 mark. And, you know, I said 30. I think 30 would be 75%, so they could actually go maybe even a little bit more than that. And if they could hit 33, then that actually would make this thing an even 2-stop, I believe. You figure that first one takes you to lap 33, and then the second one would take you to lap 66. And then, boy, it'd be really close if you could make it to lap 99. Maybe you could make it to lap 100 as well and stretch this thing out. But, again, that continues to go under the assumption that we stay green. And everybody that's racing up front as hard as they are, that's because they are assuming that we are probably not going to go the whole way green. Ken McCullough Jr., though, still making good progress up top with help from DJ Daniel. And DJ Daniel, by the way, in the 96 colors, haven't seen his name too much in the money racing scene. Again, relatively new, but certainly making good use of his rookie stripes, if you will, here tonight, as he is pushing one of the veterans and Ken McCullough Jr. And I'll tell you what, that is the quickest way to learn when you hop on these super speedways. And it's not just rookies. It can be drivers who take a break. I mean, when you come back, it just seems like it's always so much more competitive than when it was when you left. And so the quickest way to get back into it is get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get up there, push the guys that you know have a ton of experience. Try to lead laps even when it's early, because you know that when it's late, you're not going to have that time to kind of get adjusted and get used to what it feels like to lead. And boy, Justin Mills, he worked to the top. The move looked okay initially, but that car got really, really wiggly in the back end as Ken McCullough Jr. tried to square him up for a push. He wasn't quite able to do so as they were trying to get lined up to be a little bit more even. So because of that, that third lane lost a little bit of momentum, but the new temps up top with Ken McCullough Jr. having one in the wall. That's the 78 of J.R. Miller. Is he going to save it? No, Kenny Brady back down into traffic. Caution is out for the first time. They're still wrecking. That is the 96. Oh, and he gets back up into J.R. Miller. DJ Daniels was trying to get it woed up, and as he was trying to collect himself, oh, man, that's a tough break. He got right up into the 78 of J.R. Miller, and that gave him a lot more damage than what it initially looked like he was going to have. In fact, this 78 might be heading to the pits as the suspension is destroyed. You see how far left his wheel is kind of stuck, and you can see that car vibrating around. That's not just the camera. Well, I guess it is. The camera shaking, of course, as those vibrations are a suspension issue that he's got in the left front. You can actually see it wobbling around, so he'll have to go in, get that car fixed up, and yeah, that's really, really major damage. Not the way that J.R. Miller wanted to start this race by any means. You see the front end is completely ripped off as well. So the big question here is what all went wrong? Started with two cars in the wall. I think it was Kenny Brady and J.R. Miller here. This is coming out of the tri-oval. Is Brady going to look 3 wide here, and then maybe something happens from there? Let's go to the chopper view to get things kicked off. Now watch the one of Kenny Brady. He's lined up just behind the red, white, and blue 78 Ford Mustang of J.R. Miller. And is he going to try to sneak up the track right here? Looks like he sure enough is. So it's a really odd look, too, for Kenny Brady. I'll tell you why. Because, you know, when you make that move, he was clear at the top, right? Kenny Brady can make this move. He's got the run. He's clear up top, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty good move. Now, the next question would be, does J.R. Miller really move a lot here? It almost kind of looks like it, doesn't it? Like that 78 is maybe sliding across the nose of that one a little bit. And so the reason I bring that up is I almost wonder here if Kenny Brady wasn't trying to necessarily pass J.R. Miller, but rather just, you know, maybe was pushing him a little bit in the tri-oval. Let's see. No, he's not pushing him right there. He's not pushing him, so I think it's just a slight kind of, you know, miss lineup, if you will, of lines there with J.R. Miller kind of sliding down. Kenny Brady kind of holds his line and then maybe goes to make the move up. And, I mean, either way you look at it, once he tries to make that move up, he doesn't commit enough. He kind of sticks right on the right rear of J.R. Miller, and when he does that, it's just going to get the 78 kind of caught there. And, I mean, there's nothing J.R. Miller can do right here. We'll watch it from this angle. So watch as Kenny Brady slides out. Look how close he stays to that right rear quarter panel of J.R. Miller, and just looks like he kind of hooks him. And JR does, to his credit, a great job here kind of minimizing the damage when he gets into that outside wall. But then Kenny Brady here, you know, he's stuck in the rear bumper of the 78, and he's going to try to drive it off. But when he does, that car shoots down the racetrack, and the wreck's going to be on from here. And this one collects, again, quite a few. We'll have to go through the amount of drivers that this one takes out. Certainly not going to be the big one of the night, but when Brady went down, that's where a lot of drivers sustained the damage, including Kenny Brady's Toyota Supra. Trevor Oswanoth, oh, man. When he got turned on, he slid into the inside wall. Wasn't quite able to get it slowed up in time. There's the initial hit, and then as he goes down, there's Trevor Oswanoth gets collected. Looks like Ken McCullough Jr., he had nowhere to go, neither did the 5. So you see the hood blowing off. And then watch Trevor Oswanoth here. He talked about he went for a slide, and this car's just not able to stop in time. Boom, big hit off the inside safer barrier. See the smoke come out of the hood, and that is an indication that that engine has expired due to the damage that he sustained. And then watch this wreck. It actually continues. It doesn't just end here. Watch Kenny Brady as he tries to regain control of this car. He does, but boom, bounces off the inside wall. Lets it roll, lets it roll, lets it roll. And then J.R. Miller, who thought he was... Oh, well, I take that back. It was not Kenny Brady. I saw J.R. Miller have a secondary collision. I thought it was with Kenny Brady, but it looks like it was actually further back than this. Oh, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be the 96 of DJ Daniels here, who has contact down on the inside of the racetrack, and once they get together, that's really what finishes the job for the 78 in terms of the damage category. Let's look at the onboard view here for J.R. Miller through this and see what he saw. I'm curious as to, did he make a wheel movement here, or does it look like the car was getting kind of pushed down? No, it just looks like a little bit of a wheel movement. Again, these cars like to dance around a little bit in the tri-oval, but it's just, you know, kind of that unspoken communication between two drivers just not working out too well there, and maybe a bit of a mistake from Kenny Brady if he was trying to make a move, staying on that right rear of J.R. Miller just a bit too long, and you saw the unfortunate outcome. Final view here as we look at it from the blimp cam. There's Oswanoth sliding to the inside wall, Kenny Brady, and then this is the second part of the accident, which was where all the big damage accumulated from. You saw Dylan Basin actually sneak by there on the inside in his 11 Elliott Sadler eSports machine. But as we go back live, looks like JR Miller has gotten his car repaired, so he'll make it back on track and try to catch the leaders. Not sure if he went a lap down yet or not, but up front, how about Cody Nagels leading the way with his Nightmare Esports teammate Matt Lee in second, Michael Triscaro back in third, Aubrey Thompson in fourth, and Richard Elliott currently rounding out your top 5. Moving on back to the 6th position, it is Mark Math with Paul Witt in 7th. Jared Haynes in 8th. By the way, he's up 10 spots from where he started this race at. Only driver inside the top 10 that's more than that is currently Mark Math, and he's up 14 positions from where he started this race at. Justin Mills back in 9th, and then Sean Corbett currently rounds out your top 10. So when we go back green here, it'll be 13 of 100 laps complete. So we'll see what happens. By the way, again, for anybody who maybe didn't have a chance to tune into PGR eSports last night, if you're watching tonight, please let me know how all the audio does sound in terms of race audio, and then did get a new microphone, so let me know what you think of it, if you like it better than the old one, or if you like the old one better. And of course, we certainly appreciate you tuning in. Hope that you are having a good Friday night as we approach about 10:30 here on the East Coast. Good night for money racing, and we're going to have to talk about these payouts once we get further on in the race and closer to the end, because, I mean, 38 drivers, they're going to be pretty close to what at least posted payouts were. And then again, you can't forget about the bonus $50 that's going to be awarded to your winner. So I'll tell you what, Cody Nagels right now, though, looking about as stout as ever as he continues to run on point. Matt Lee, though, second. These two are going to try to do a lot of lane swapping right now to keep everybody intact, try to keep control of this field. See how well things pan out. All right, here we go. Rolling back into the tribal and into the Geico restart zone. This will change the fuel strategy up a little bit. It should now make this a guaranteed, I believe, 2-stopper. Have to see what happens. Here we go. Green flag in the air. 13 laps complete. And we are back racing at Talladega. What a start from Cody Nagels. Matt Lee going to match him pretty well, though, as they race down to turn number 1. As they climb the banking, that inside will have the momentum initially, but once they get up to speed and get onto the back straightaway, that is where the outside really can show its true colors. And look at that. A little bit of a bobble, and this will give it a huge run to the outside line. Matt Lee is getting pushed by Aubrey Thompson. It's going to be plenty enough to get the 04 clear. He overshoots just a little bit, but jumps back up. And now the 69 of Aubrey Thompson trying to do a little bit of 2-for-1 action here. Can he get clear? Matt Lee before turn 3 all but does, but he can't quite do it. Mark Math started to pull high. I think he thought for sure the 69 was going to get clear, but that was not the case. And now Matt Lee's going to start to go to work as he jumps back up. Mark Math took a peek, thought about going 3 wide just briefly, but he's content to stay where he runs for the moment. And about the 7, Jared Haynes making his way up in the field early. Talked about he was up 10. He's now up 11 as he picks up another spot as he runs just in front of the 45 of Sean Corbett. Now, things did get shuffled up a little bit there for some of the drivers that decided to go into pit, and then, of course, some of the drivers that had to go into pit to fix damage. But I'm looking at 2 of these drivers here that are in the mid-teens. That's Coleman Cosby and David Flanagan. As if they can get linked up, 2 drivers that I don't believe have any teammates in the field, maybe get working together, they could potentially make something happen. Danny Barnes, you see in the Hyper Motorsports pink and black, number 7 Chevy Camaro. He stays glued to the inside as well. By the way, 14 of 100 laps complete. So again, we are still in the very, very early stages of this race right now. But already we've seen plenty of action. We've seen a little bit of 3 wide, and maybe after that first wreck, it's kind of time for everybody to cool down for just a little bit. Saw Landon Velicky in the 62. He's got the Green Bay Packers colors on here tonight. He's a driver that likes to go 3 wide. Another one of the great pushers that we see in the series. Brian Henning's just behind him in the 74, and then you've got Nash Brambilla. He's starting to work his way towards the front as well. And they stay in this 2x2 formation all the way back to Jonathan Herbert in the 87. Actually make it a spot just in front of the 87. That is the 8 of Art Greco. And so I talk about Jonathan Herbert leading the single file action, but there's still some heavy hitters that are back here just kind of chilling out for now. I mean, Kenny Brady, you know, he may not have much of a choice after being involved in that first incident, having to use his fast repair. And I mean, that doesn't just go for him either. Let me state that goes for any driver that had to use a fast repair during that first wreck. You're taking it easy now because you've still got over 80 laps in this race. And if you get involved in another wreck, your night is over. That fast repair is a lifesaver when you need it, but if you have to use it too early, it can certainly change the aggression level of a driver throughout the remaining portions of the race, as that's Justin Carter on his inside. But looks like Kenny Brady's trying to pick it back up as he's seeing if he can get back up to the outside. And right now, I was looking at the chat here. It looks like Jared Miller says, look at the cockpit. I was trying. Left behind, pushed in right, quarter. Yeah, that's what we thought, Jared. Oh, trouble on track. Hold that thought for just a moment. Oh, man, we got one off. That's Art Greco on the inside. And the 8 car looks like he does save it. He'll be able to get back on track, but unfortunately here, he's going to be in danger of losing the lead draft. See here if he can find any way to hold on. He might be able to, but it is certainly a tough start for Art Greco after he was doing a great job running with the pack. He had already made up some positions, but all that progress is now going to go in the negative as he's back to 34th. And again, he is not with the leaders. You look at the track map, you can see just how far back he is. He will need a caution to get caught back up at this rate because he does not have any help. If you don't have draft, you can't catch up. Do want to finish up on the point with what we just saw Jared Miller right in chat, saying, look at cockpit, I was trying. Left behind, pushed in right rear quarter panel. And if it's what I take it as, yeah, JR, that's certainly what we saw, at least in the replay. Just looked like Kenny Brady, not sure what happened that got him, but when he jumped that line, just clipped you in the right rear. But again, not sure what exactly happened there. As here we go, Landon Veliky. He's going to take a peek at a line here. I think he was hoping that maybe Brian Hennings would follow. But it looks like that 74 is content to stay in line. He'll leave a spot for the 62 to jump back down. And now it's going to be Trevor Oswernoth. He'll try to jump to the top of the racetrack. Is he going to get a little help here from Joey Galati? Yes, he does. The 89 still going to take a peek. He's going to have at least one car committed. Really, you need at least 3 or 4 to actually make progress. But sometimes you can get the kind of that fire sparked, which is 2 cars, and if you start making up a couple positions, it kind of entices everybody that's in that middle line to try to get back up the racetrack. Oh, speaking of getting up the racetrack, the 5, that was a big moment for James Waring. Man, he got up the racetrack right there. I think he bumped the apron in the middle of 3 and 4, and you can see the handling starting to take effect, at least for this 5 car. Man, that was really, really close to being the first big incident of the night. We already saw a caution, but that one would have been a whole lot bigger if he didn't save that race car. That was a nice piece of driving by not only him, but the driver on the top lane that had to make sure that they gave him a little bit of room to save it right there. So still 2x2 up front, almost 3 wide further back is Jones and Brady, 2 of the Super Speedway favorites. Going to try to see if they can get together, maybe work to the front, but Michael Triscaro, he will take the lead as he's going to take the point on the bottom of the racetrack, got clear low. Veliky jumps out of line further back again, but this 34, you know he is due for a big win sooner or later. He was really hoping it was going to come in the SummerSlam after the road to get there did not go the way Michael Triscaro probably would have expected, but boy, it was a rewarding one. Unfortunately, though, the hopes were diminished with a little bit of bad luck in the main feature, but still a good weekend and some momentum to build off for sure. Michael Triscaro as he tries to see if he can capture a win here tonight, and he is in good company right now as he continues to receive a push from Richard Elliott. And I love what Richard Elliott has done with this paint scheme. Tell you what, and normally we don't stop to commentate, if you will, on paint schemes like this, but in general, I don't think I've ever seen an idea quite like what Richard Elliott has set up, and I'm trying to get a better view. There you go. So look what he's done. He's actually put his logo inside the number there. And if you kind of look at it from a distance, you almost wouldn't even recognize that that's a number. It just looks like he's got a car with a logo on the side. That's a really cool idea from Richard Elliott to put on that race car, and sometimes a change of paint is what you need to get some momentum as a driver. Richard Elliott, the talent level has always been there since he hopped in the scene for Money Racing, and it's just a matter of can he catch that big break. Everybody always says that Super Speedway racing is about 75% skill, 25% luck, and believe me, that does fluctuate at times, but the idea is that you got to have skill to make it to the end of these races, and especially to get to the front. But at the same time, you're always going to need a little bit of luck to survive the big wrecks, survive the chaos, survive the last lap pushing. Ultimately be the driver who takes that checkered flag first. Here's Paul Witt in the 429. You can tell that he may not be around the money racing scene that much, but he is certainly no stranger to the Super Speedway side of things, as now he'll try to take a peek for the lead through 3 and 4. He's getting a really good push here from Mark Maths. Sean Corbett is there as well. And oh, trouble, hold on to it, not going to do it. Back up into the outside wall they go. That's Paul Witt and a couple others. Oh, now Corbett is going to get spun, and man, that's a big hit. As Nash Brambilla kind of got wedged, he had nowhere to go. I think that was just Sean Corbett trying to regain control, and we are now under our second caution of the night here with 22 of 100 laps complete. Nash Brambilla with some pretty significant damage on the front hood. Joey Galati, I think he may have got some as well here. Although maybe not. 661 may have escaped unscathed. All right, well, let's go back and take a look at it. See where it all goes wrong here. It starts off turn 4. Now, Paul Witt had just gotten to the lead on the outside, and this is where the trouble actually starts. And you got to wonder, is it a case of pushing in the corner? Well, let's see here. So there's Paul Witt. Watch Mark Math in the 199 just behind him here as he sets up, and Mark Math is lining him up for a push right here, and you just can't do it. I mean, pushing in the corners for, I would say, about 85 to 90% of the field it's just a no-no. You just can't do it. But if you're going to try it, you have to be absolutely, 100% square for it to work, because you got to remember, these cars are already, kind of a little bit, I don't want to say, I mean, they're set when you get in the corners, but they're still relatively unstable. And so when you have somebody that gives you a shot that's not quite straight, this is what can happen. Watch it again right here. Let's see. So does Mark Math, he's going to definitely push him here, but this should show you kind of that angle of him getting offset when he hits him right there. And that just turns Paul Witt down. Nothing he can do. I mean, what a save by Cody Nagels. I'll tell you what, when these two initially got hooked together, Cody and Paul, I thought that was going to be Cody going pretty much dead right into the fence, but even when they get stuck together, you actually saw the hands working from the other view here for Cody Nagels on the bottom right. Look at the hands trying to save that car. He does, but then as Paul Witt's trying to hold on, he gets back up into Mark Math, and then you see Sean Corbett. He's trying to take evasive maneuvers as well on the bottom of the racetrack, and unfortunately, he's not going to be able to escape this one either. And for Corbett, watch this here. That's the 7 of Jared Haynes trying to sneak through a gap, which initially was there. He makes it through the first part of the gap, but it closes just before he's able to escape the danger. And once he collects Haynes back up the track, Nashper and Billa, he had nowhere to go as it looked like the seas were going to part, and then quickly closed up for him as well. And that might have been Joey Galati back there, who had a little bit of damage, if anything, but certainly not too much. Let's go get a couple more angles of this here. First one from TV3 again. And watch this. This was the view that we kind of initially saw. Michael Triscaro dips extra low to make sure he doesn't get any contact. Richard Elliott with a phenomenal save as well. In the 35, oh my goodness. That was Zachary Williams. I don't know how he didn't get damaged. It looked like for sure he was making contact with one of the cars in the wreck, but watch this for the 35. Oh my goodness, it does not get much closer than that. Zach Williams gets on the brakes just enough to be able to miss it, and he is probably going, oh my goodness, I cannot believe I missed that wreck, especially after we just hopped on the onboard view. It's going to be a fun replay for him to look at later. Boy, what a chop, though, to miss that. And then this is the angle again is Corbett. Boy, he almost saved it. It was that second overcorrection that sent it back into the field. And, I mean, it's hard when everybody's trying to, scatter to miss a wreck. There's smoke being thrown up everywhere. You've got cars spinning. The last thing you want to do is get collected, so you're trying everything. And by the way, you see Larry McDonald come to a halt there right alongside the door of Jared Haynes. So he waits for him to get rolling, and then once the scene clears out, he's able to get back rolling himself here. This is the drone cam, by the way. This kind of gives you an alternate view from the TV3 to the overhead shot, and right there, saw the 429 of Paul Witt. That's where he gets most of his left front damage, actually. But there may not be many drivers who have to use a fast spray in this one. I think Nashper and Billa might possibly have to. Maybe Sean Corbett as well, but everybody else, that might be optional damage. And you might be saying, well, why don't you just go completely fix the race car? Why would you just fix it so that it's not as fast as it could be? Well, it's simple. We still have 75 laps, and sometimes if you don't take too much damage in these cars, you can repair it and still be competitive. And if that's the case, it's almost like kind of getting a free pass, because you know that the car is damaged now, and so you don't have to worry as much about trying to keep it clean, because you know that you're already a little bit down on performance, so you figure, well, let me go for it, and then if I get in another wreck, I still have that fast repair in the book anyway. So you certainly, as a driver, your first option is always try to take optional if my car can still stay with the pack, but as soon as you start to creep into that territory of maybe not, that's when you got to think about taking that fast repair so that you can stick with the leaders. Coleman Cosby right now, he is being scored as your leader in that 7 machine, and after that, a little bit of strategy came into play. He is up 23 positions from where he started this race at. Cody Nagels on the outside in second. You got Matt Lee back in third with Michael Triscaro in fourth. And then it's Brian Hennings who sits back in the 5th spot. Kenny Brady in 6th. Richard Elliott 7th with Zachary Williams in 8th. Landon Velicky in 9th. And Jonathan Herbert currently rounding out your top 10. All right, so the lights were off on the pace car. Yep, so we will indeed be going back to green flag racing this time. Again, remember, it's about 30 to 30, I would say 30 to 33 laps on a fuel window, again, depending on where you run in the draft. So these drivers right now are going to make it to about lap 55, 57, somewhere right around there. And so that means that the next pit stop will take them to right around 85, 87. Again, this is assuming it goes green. So from here, it is still a two-stop, but it is a solid two-stop strategy, and still a ways from this point, but each caution gets us closer and closer to potentially making this a one-stop race to make it on fuel. All right, here we go. Rolling back up to the Geico restart zone. It'll be the second restart of the night as the green flag is back in the air. Through the gears we go. And this time, it's a better jump from the outside line as Cody Nagels is going to get clear of the 7 Coleman Cosby before they even get to turn number 1. We'll see if he decides to drop low. He's sticking with the top lane for now because that's where the momentum is. But do Michael Triscaro, Kenny Brady try to split him? Not going to have to worry about it because Cody Nagels drops to the inside. Now he's going to go back to the top. A lot of lane switching. That's what you got to do, though. Cody is trying to control the energy. He knows that that outside's going to have the bigger run down the back straightaway. That's why he jumps up there. And it looks like it pays off pretty well, but he is not going to be able to get back clear by the time they get to turn 3. Michael Triscaro pushing for all he's worth, but Matt Lee's doing the same, and he's actually going to get this 7 ahead. Look at this. Matt Lee's going to get clear to jump up. And I think Cody might be, yeah, I was going to say, oh, man. Oh, my goodness. What a save by Cody Nagels. I was getting ready to say, I'm sure Cody was telling him to jump up, but boy, Lee took that at about the last second. And you could say, I guess technically he was clear, but the reason you saw Cody wobbling around as much as he did was because Lee actually skimmed the front nose of Cody as he was sliding up, and it got that 6 car all out of shape, at least on the front end of it. Wow, that was a big moment, but another great save for Cody Nagels. Second one we've seen from him here tonight. That'll put Brian Hennings back to the lead pusher now on the inside. The 7 looking a little bit uncomfortable still. Coleman Cosby. This is the first laps that he's had a chance to lead here tonight. Doing a good job, but I think Matt Lee's going to take control. Yes, he will. He'll jump to the inside of the racetrack. That'll give Cody Nagels a chance to cool temps just a little bit here. Looking a little bit further back, Landon Velicky has moved up to 3rd on that outside line. How about Zachary Williams? After the job he did avoiding that last wreck, he has now moved up to 4th in the outside. Jonathan Herbert, he's up there as well. The inside, you've got Lee and Coleman Cosby, but Brian Hennings, Richard Elliott, even Joey Gallardo still in the picture as well. Excuse me, I said Gallardo. I meant to say Joey Galati. And oh, man, oh, another big moment. Hold on to it. Lee gets on the apron. We saw the 35 of Zachary Williams. He got out of shape. The 7 did as well, just briefly. And this is surprising because, remember, with the amount of cautions we've had already, you know, I say amount. I mean, we've only had 2, but the point is 27 laps complete. I thought drivers would have had the chance to take tires on at least one, if not both of them. So to be seeing this many handling issues, I got to think you can only credit it to what we're seeing for the track temp. You see the speeds on the bottom right as we hop on the telemetry here for Cody Nagels. You see right now he's full throttle, of course, as he is the leader, but Kenny Brady's going to make a move to the outside, and Matt Lee is actually going to go with him, but about 185 as they work their way through the tri-oval. Track temp has risen just slightly now at 111, even with those partly cloudy conditions and 69-degree air temps. So that's what some of the handling issues are coming from. Anything over 100, it starts to get a little bit on the slick end, but how about this? 3 wide, so clearly handling must not be too big of an issue because certain drivers are ready to start to push the pace a little bit again. And that is Coleman Cosby on the outside. He got a little bit of experience, if you will, by leading a couple laps on the inside, but now he's trying to do it the hard way by taking it to the top. 3 wide. He had some help, but it's not going to last as Michael Triscaro is going to bail out of that line. That brings him down to 2 as they wait for help. Joey Galati on the apron. Can the 661 hold on to it right here? He's trying. He does. What a save from Joey Galati. Not sure what happened to get him in that scenario, but man, that was another big moment. We keep seeing these guys get closer and closer to a 3rd caution, but again, another phenomenal save. This time it was from, again, Joey Galati in the 661 right here, but what gets him down on the apron? That's the first question. I think it's going to be some contact here with the 35 of Zachary Williams. Oh, yes, it is. And it looked like Joey may have been washing up a little bit. I think the 35 may have been a little loose as well, but I will say at Talladega versus Daytona, that's one of the advantages you get. The apron is still banked, at least a certain portion of it is, so when you get down there, it's a lot easier to save the car instead of going from, you know, banking that's more than 30 degrees high to completely flat surface. So Joey Galati, he probably is going to lose the pack from this. I mean, I'm looking at the times at least, and yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to hang on. So for Joey, he is going to need a caution to catch back up, as he is now officially just outside drafting range of Ken McCullough Jr., who I think tried to actually help him out a little bit. Ashburn Bill up in his pack as well as, we got more scatter and one off. That's the 5. Is that Joshua McCullough? Couldn't tell from the initial angle. No, Joshua McCullough sneaks by. That was the other 5 machine of James Waring. That was going aimed to turn number 1, so now he'll fall to the back, and this is kind of similar to what we saw at the end of the SummerSlam race, where it seems like drivers that are in this lead pack are kind of dropping like flies. Almost each lap, it seems like we lose somebody to either just getting loose, getting out of shape, or having some contact with another driver. But 30 of 100 laps complete, and Cody Nagels continues to lead the way. Brian Henning's trying to push up to second, but it's Kenny Brady who leads the outside. Matt Lee second up there as well. And then Landon Velicki, Richard Elliott hanging around in that third row. Looks like Velicki's had enough, so he'll jump to the outside of the racetrack. DJ Daniels is going to go by, and I think that 62 is ready to fall to the back. We are going to take our first quick break of the night, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us as Cody Nagels leads at Talladega.
Have created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got Prime! This season, we are hydrated!
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
You feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Have created
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. 33 of 100 laps complete, and a Mowing in Memory 265 presented by McCullough Motorsports Money Racing. We have seen quite a bit of that so far here tonight, as a lot of great racing, especially from everybody well within inside the top 20. We've seen 2 wide, 3 wide. We've seen a couple cautions. The only thing that we haven't seen yet is green flag pit stop. That's the next thing on the agenda, is Mark Math. Not sure what the issue was there for the 199, but looks like he's going to fall a lap down here, actually. And he's not the only one. We've had a few drivers here that have gone a lap down. Now, some of this, I think, is from damage from earlier wrecks, but Trevor Oswinoth right now leads the drivers that are a lap down. So if a caution came out right now, assuming he wasn't involved, he would indeed get that lucky dog and get back on the lead lap. Justin Mills, he currently sits second in that battle to try to get back on the lead lap. He's 1 lap down, as is Mark Math. And then, unfortunately for James Waring, he is 3 laps down. And then J.R. Miller is out of this race as part of the contact from Kenny Brady earlier. And then Danny Eshelman, who sits in 38th. Looks like he has had an issue as well. And we've got another one down the pits here. The pits have been a very, very busy place here. And this time it's like the 69 machine, Aubrey Thompson for BAR. Back up front, Kenny Brady on point. Matt Lee on the outside leads the way. The 96, DJ Daniels. We've seen him kind of doing the lead pushing in a couple different lanes. He's been in the second, he's been in the third, and he's been doing a great job on both sides of it. But Michael Triscaro in the 34, he's going to have to get a little bit closer if that outside's going to get the 04 of Matt Lee clear again. Now, I know Cody's not pushing as hard as he could either, but... And actually, I'll tell you what, I wonder if this is maybe some sort of strategy, because I know we're still 2x2, but it does seem like everybody's kind of calmed down here just a little bit. You notice the pushes aren't as aggressive. I haven't noticed any drivers, at least not in the last couple laps, trying to push much in the corners, really, if any. And that just, of course, depends on preference as a driver, who's pushing, who's leading, if they have chemistry or not. But usually that's also a sign of the aggression level maybe kind of calming down here a little bit. As Kenny Brady's going to move to the top. Matt Lee gives him a shot down the back straightaway. That'll give Cody Nagels a chance to cool down a little bit. Ryan Hennings in the 74. By the way, that's one of the drivers that, of course, we saw in the SummerSlam. What a great job he did. And he's not necessarily new to the Money Racing scene, but he's still one of the newer drivers. And, I mean, he's not new to the super speedway scene. I know we've said that about a couple different drivers, but it seems like that's really the case. It's kind of rare nowadays that we have somebody that just hops in that's, you know, maybe say a Steven Miles, who I know is in here tonight, but a good example of a driver who really just, they weren't that into super speedway racing until they hopped on the Money Racing scene. And for Steven, he picked it up quick, but I look at some of these drivers, even Paul Witt, Brian Hennings, again, maybe they haven't done a lot of money racing before, but they have done a ton of super speedway racing, and it's one of the things that they're best at, and so it certainly doesn't take long to get adjusted once you come over here to the Money Racing scene. And I mean, it's really just super speedway racing that's a little bit more aggressive. It gives you the opportunity to win some money as well. By the way, if anybody's interested in joining or checking out the Discord, we do have it linked in the description below. Again, that is the McCullough Motorsports Money Racing Discord. So if you want to join in on any of these events or learn more about them, feel free to click that link, and that should get you at least initially set up, and you can ask any question that you have in there. Second group, though, is starting to get formed up here. Larry McDonald, third. Second in that group is David Flanagan, and then leading this group is Joshua McCullough. And as it stands right now, he is 1.7 seconds behind the back bumper of Paul Witt, who is in this second group. And those two, and what's really odd here is it's kind of like a really long single file bridge right now. If we go up here to Dylan Jones, who's the last car with this lead pack, Danny Barnes is close enough to get a draft off of him. Mark Vondell is close enough to be pulling a draft off of Danny Barnes. And then Paul Witt is close enough to be pulling a draft off of Mark Vondell. And then Joshua McCullough, he's close enough to pull a draft off of Paul Witt. So it's just kind of like this long separated single file draft train right now that as long as everybody kind of minds their P's and Q's here, they should catch back up. And this is going to help Joshua McCullough right here as they're going to go by a couple other cars, but that pull helped them stick with the leaders. Now they do have to have a smooth transition around right here. Looks like at least the first 2 to 3 will, as Flanagan and McDonald will get clear behind McCullough. Not sure who else will. The 56 is going to try to follow. That's Donald Stewart. Up on board here with Donald, as he currently again sits in that 22nd position. Now I will give him some credit here because he is already up 9 spots from where he started this race at. He's actually going to make it 10 as he'll pick up another spot right there, but Donald's been going to work, and right now it is paying off. Just in front of him is Larry McDonald in the 80 car. As you go back live, you might have noticed that it looks like the scoring tower, while it is still showing accurate timing, looks like it has froze up a little bit, so we'll give that a quick refresh so that make sure everybody does indeed get updated. So as it does that, up front, still leading the way though, is Matt Lee and Kenny Brady. They've been up here now for over a handful of laps. Kenny Brady, another driver who's looking to kind of get another one of those breakout wins. He's due for one, if you will. And who knows, maybe tonight's his night. Right now as it stands, he's running pretty well. Got involved in an incident early between him and J.R. Miller. Those two, of course, not too happy with each other, but Kenny Brady has since been able to recover pretty well, as he has now, of course, been able to reclaim the lead. Matt Lee, though, second. Boy, he loves to push. He's one of the Nightmare Esports teammates, and you know he's going to work well with just about anybody, but when he's able to be the lead pusher, he likes it. He feels that he's in better control than a lot of guys would be when they're the lead pusher. He knows when to push. He knows when you can't push. And he continues to do kind of a master class for the rest of the field on how to work these lanes, how to keep everybody in check, and that's what you have to do, because remember, especially when the track temp's a little bit hotter as it is in this race here tonight, if you don't swap between lanes, somebody's going to get hot. And when somebody gets hot, that lane has a tendency to fade, which, maybe we see more towards the end of the race, but at a time like right now, that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to stay at the front. You're trying to keep everybody happy. And so as long as you're switching lanes, usually everybody that's in the vicinity of you is going to be pretty happy because you're doing a good job at the front. But still 2x2 for this entire front pack. Now that second group that we were talking about, would they catch? Well, the answer is yes, they will. In fact, looks like they already have. Joshua McCullough has now grabbed full draft off the back bumper here of Danny Barnes. So once he catches up, though, they're going to have a big run. Him, David Flanagan, and Larry McDonald. The question's going to be, where do they take it? Do they check up? Or do they maybe try to make something happen here, try to jump to the top and go with the 4 of Mills and the 9 of Dylan Jones? Now, again, Mills, that's not currently for track position. We'll have to see how that changes. Says in the chat, Brent Manifi says, unable to accept invite from, unable to accept invite, Austin, from Discord MMR. All right, give me just a second, Brendan. I will make sure to post another link. Apologize for that. Not sure why that one isn't working, but I do appreciate you letting me know because now I can, of course, get that new link out. So paste it in chat, and please do let me know if that one works or it doesn't. If not, we can go ahead and get you another one. 43 laps now complete. DJ Daniel will take the lead now up front as we've had a change in quite a few positions here. Lee had got clear of Brady, but then all of a sudden this outside made a huge charge. You saw Michael Triscaro get clear after the 96 was clear, but didn't take it initially. And then Trevor Ozranoff, again, that's not for position, that 89 machine, but he is trying to get back on the lead lap. And if he does it the hard way here, what that would also do is open up that lucky dog position for another driver who sits further back. And so again, right now, remember, hold on to it, Zachary Williams. Boy, he got really out of shape. Washed up to the third lane as he continues to try to hold on to it. Coleman Cosby had to check up before he went to the middle 3 wide to get by okay. Another big moment that kind of stems from an issue of handling, but what I was getting ready to say is, if you remember that first green flag pit stop, what we're kind of expecting right here is that, probably right around lap, I would say maybe 55. Maybe right around lap 55 is when we're expecting that next pit stop. Maybe a little bit longer. Maybe right around lap 58 even. And so all the drivers that are in the middle and back portions of the pack, they're going to be the ones that can make it the farthest here. And then the drivers up front, they're the ones that are going to have to pit the soonest. But that green flag window is about 10 laps, 10 to 13 laps from now. So we'll see if we can make it. And if we do, we'll be past the half point in the race. And that could be where the dynamic of this race starts to change with a mid-race green flag pit cycle. And that usually tends to separate the field up a little bit. And once we get that separation, that's where things have a tendency to start to stay a little bit more clean than they've potentially been. But, I mean, only two cautions in 44 laps. That's certainly nothing to be upset about for anybody. Everybody's doing a phenomenal job so far here tonight. Matt Lee still leads the bottom. The 34 of Michael Triscaro in tow. The 34 is going to now look back to the top of the racetrack. And these cars, as they get to more and more aggressive pushing, look at this. Matt Lee jumps off, but Kenny Brady's going to cut him a break to let him back up. I was getting ready to say, with these cars at this racetrack, they're going to start to run probably in the mid-190s, especially as push comes to shove later on in this race. But man, oh man, Michael Triscaro continues to look really, really good. Not just right now, but he's looked great pretty much since the start of this race. He's had a couple chances to take the lead, and he's right back up there now, just getting any experience that he can. Driver out of Chagrin Falls, Ohio. Remember, he's not new to the money racing scene, but in general, when you look at his iRacing career as a whole, he started money racing pretty shortly after he joined iRacing. And boy, it didn't take him long to pick up. Quickly became a heavy hitter, and here he is leading a stout field right now at Talladega with 46 of 100 laps complete. And he knows that there's a bonus on the line, and you better believe he wants to try to claim it if he can. By the way, Sunday night is going to be the return of MMS Money Racing with the Little Dog Big Dog Championship. So make sure you tune in for that one. That race will be broadcasted over on, I believe it is Fireball Talks NASCAR. They do a phenomenal job over there as well, so make sure you check them out. Oh, here we go, one peeling off. That's going to be the 7 of Cosby. Man, this is really, really early, and that would probably explain why it's only one driver. This is not the strategy favored by most of the field. And I wonder if maybe by Coleman getting that track position for the last restart, he was giving up the fact that he was going to have to pit a lot earlier, and ooh, that's a mistake. As a 7 with a big lockup, and that car got sideways to about 45 degrees, and he slid straight through the pit box. Looks like he is going to be able to get it straightened up here, and he'll get his service of 4 tires and fuel. As I don't know, it still didn't look like he had it right. Yeah, he didn't, so now he finally does, but boy, this has cost him all sorts of time, and as good as Coleman was doing, he will now fall into the category of drivers who are going to need a caution to get back in this race. Kenny Brady still up front. Michael Triscaro second. Row 2, that's Cody Nagels and Matt Lee, the 2 teammates, and then Brian Hennings and the 96 of DJ Daniel back in row 3. Trevor Oswald, Dylan Bassett in row 4. Jonathan Herbert and Richard Elliott back in row 5. They're going around a couple of lappers right here. Looks like one of them is the 15, the 661, and then the 69 of Aubrey Thompson as well. And I'm not sure what happened to the 15. That was Ryan Newman, but that's another one of the drivers who has fallen off of the lead lap, and in fact, not sure exactly how many laps are down right now, but maybe one of the drivers that's fighting for that lucky dog spot. And so they are approaching the halfway point here. In fact, we'll be at lap 50 here in just about 2 laps. And so if you're Kenny Brady, I got to think that you're trying to keep this position probably once we get to about 3 to 4 laps away from the pit stops. Anytime before then, you're okay with all the cycling going on. You're okay with guys getting in front of you. You're okay with getting pushed. But once you get to about 3 laps to go, if you're leading that inside, even if you're the lead pusher on the inside, at least in my mind, that's when the goal starts to become maybe go from trying to, be a little bit more conservative to try to fight for that position. If you can come into the pit stops as the leader, you can be so much more conservative on entry and on exit because you have all that time to work with. However, one thing you got to worry about, and this is regardless of where you run right now in this lead pack, is if everybody pits together, things have a tendency to get very, very chaotic very, very quickly. Can't make a mistake. You got to hope that, you don't get run into from the back. It's very bumpy down that pit entrance, especially once you get close to the inside wall. But, a little bit of trouble here potentially for Coleman Cosby. Further back is, not sure what happened to the 7 here. This may have been a lap ago. See if we can go see what happens here to Coleman. This is he got on the apron and then just trying to save it. Got a little bit in the grass, but no harm, no foul. Doesn't look like he got any damage either, and then takes it right back up onto the racing surface. So, I'll tell you what.
All right, man.
Caution's out. Trouble further up here. Smoke, and we got one around. That's the 34 of Michael Triscaro. Right at the halfway point in this race. About 5 laps away from our green flag stop, and we go under caution for the 3rd time here tonight. Mark Vondell. Big damage to not only him, but also the 4 of Justin Mills. Those two, looks like they took pretty hard impacts. Justin Mills to the rear and Mark Vondell to the front. See what happens here. Now, Mark Vondell was pretty far behind this wreck, so I'm thinking it's going to start up front here with Michael Triscaro. Does he just get turned? Yes, he does. And man, I hate to say it because, again, he's a phenomenal driver, and I know it's nothing intentional. Believe me, I get it. This is not meant to be a diss by any regards, but that's the 2nd mistake now tonight for Kenny Brady. At some point, you got to kind of make a business decision of trying to be a little more conservative here. And granted, maybe there was a little bit of an issue with him getting glitched into the bumper of the 34, so that could have certainly been a possibility, but the rule of thumb is when you push in the corners, it's kind of push at your own risk. If you want to be responsible for wrecking a guy, then by all means, you're okay with trying it. And I kind of understand it late in the race, but right now it's just, you can see the outside's not even pushing. They've got the lead here. Triscaro's going to clear up either way, but then you try to go for this extra bump here, and he doesn't really have him square, kind of slides to the left side, and when he does, it's just going to turn Michael Triscaro around. There's nothing he can do to save the race car, and when he gets turned here, they're still on the banking, so this car kind of slides back up. Kenny Brady, he gets turned around as well, and then there's Justin Mills. As he goes for a slide, Art Greco gets turned, and then Mark Vondell. Man, that's a huge impact as he T-bones Justin Mills right at the end of that one. He had nowhere to go. Watch this from the blimp cam. Watch the 34 here. It snaps that car around so fast. It's like lifting the back wheels up off the car, and when you don't have any rear stability, there's nothing to sit that car down on the racetrack, and it's just a mistake from Kenny Brady. That's really the only way I feel like I can put it right now. I know he's not trying to do it. I know he's trying to help Triscaro in that case. And, if it's the last lap, Triscaro is probably saying, okay, good push. We had to try it, but with still 50 laps to go, I just don't think that the risk versus reward was there at that point and caused a lot of drivers a lot of big damage here. Now, I'm a little bit curious as to how Mark Vondell took as big of a hit as he did here because they were pretty far back. Let's see, is he able to see the wreck? He sees the 34 spin. As that 34 spins up, he's getting on the brakes here. Oh, but that's what happens, is as he turns down to get low to save it, he gets loose. And when you get loose like that, you don't want to lock it down, because if he does, he's just going to slide right into the inside wall. So he's trying to steer out of that slide, which he eventually does, but the problem is, all that time that he spent trying to steer out of that slide has resulted in a whole lot less distance that he has to slow down before he kind of hits the 4 of Justin Mills in a T-bone fashion. And then for Justin Mills here, he was certainly not expecting this one. Watch here, he's going to get up into the outside wall first. When he sees this wreck, he's going to try to jump high, but as that 34 slides up, and actually he just gets turned. I take that back. I'm not sure if he hit anything. And then there's the big hit, though. Art Greco, by the way, had a phenomenal save. You saw him on the bottom left of your screen there just briefly. Nice job by Art Greco. And Michael Triscaro has to avoid Justin Mills there again at the last second. But I want to give you a couple more angles of this one here before we go back live. And a couple more views of actually where the initial contact was between Michael Triscaro and Kenny Brady. And, you know, like I said, Kenny Brady, he's not doing anything egregious. He's not doing it to be malicious. But it's just too early. And, you know, I'm sure Michael Triscaro obviously isn't too happy, as a lot of others aren't either. But he just seems like he cannot catch a break. I mean, out of all the drivers that I've seen in these races, if we had a list of who gets turned the most from the lead, I think Michael Triscaro just might take the cake on that. The good news is he didn't sustain much damage. Did get a bit of rear end there, but he might be able to get that fixed up without having to use that fast repair. And so if he's able to, he'll get back out on the racetrack and pick up right from where he left off. So Matt Lee currently being scored as your leader. You got Cody Nagels in second, Dylan Basson in third. DJ Daniel back and forth with Richard Elliott fifth, Brian Henning sixth. Jonathan Herbert now up 20 positions from where he started this race at, and he sits in seventh. Zachary Williams back at eighth, Jared Haynes in ninth, and Dylan Jones currently rounding out your top 10. Let's see, did the pace car turn the lights off? Indeed, it did, so we're not going to go to break, at least not yet. But looking in the chat, again, good to see everybody out here tonight. I hope that you are having a good Friday night so far and enjoying MMS Money Racing from the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway. Looks like, by the way, I do want to give a shout out to everybody that we saw in the chat earlier on out. Zacchaeus, Devin Ray, Bernice, good to see you in here. Looks like Heath Job, Clint Griffin, Kevin Nagels, Carl Haynes, J.R. Miller. Everybody that hopped in, good to see you out here tonight. And looks like Brett Maffey says, gives me 2 invites, then unable invite. Can't wait, finish out the race before you worry about me. And yep, Heat Job said it. Yeah, that's right. One of those Discord links, I believe, should be to the PGR eSports Discord, and then the other should be to McCullough Motorsports Discord. And then, of course, the one is the website for PGR, which the Discord link might be on there as well. I'll try to send a couple more, though, here in just a moment. And a couple people commenting on that last incident. And Dylan Basson correcting me, says my name is pronounced Basin, not Basson. I apologize, Dylan. You know what's crazy about that one is I think I used to get it right, Dylan, so I do apologize, and I know I've said it a couple different ways, but all right, Basin it is. Certainly appreciate it. I'll tell you what, and this goes for everybody. As a driver, if you don't correct me on how to pronounce your last name, and it's no disrespect when you're telling it to, I mean, that's part of the job, right? I got to be able to say the names right, and sometimes we just pronounce it differently, but when somebody lets me know, then of course I can correct it. But if you don't let me know and you just sit there and keep letting me say it wrong, then it's got to be your mistake. Nonetheless, though, here we go. Let's get back to business here on the racetrack. All right, so with 53 complete, this now becomes a one-stop race. And so that pit stop, at least as far as you can go in the fuel window, would be right around lap 83 to 86. But the fuel window itself should open right around lap 70, maybe even a little bit sooner than that. Green flag is back in the air. And it is going to be 47 laps to go as they cross the stripe that time. Cody Nagels, Matt Lee with a drag race into turn 1. The question is going to be, where does the help come from first? Looks like the help is from the inside right here as the 11 of Dylan Basin is going to push the 04 of Matt Lee up top, and, or excuse me, push him rather, so that he's able to move up top, and that'll clear him some room to now take the lead on the bottom. Cody Nagels pushing his teammate up top. The 96 of DJ Daniels there as well. Brian Henning still running well inside the top 10 right now, almost top 5. And then a couple drivers that are now trying to regroup. Jared Haynes, he's made his way back up here. Oh, hold on to it, Jonathan Herbert. That was a big wiggle through 3 and 4. I'm not sure if he bottomed out or what happened, but that 87 got all the way up the racetrack and actually into the door of that outside line. And I'll tell you what, to still have 46 laps to go, it certainly doesn't look like anybody has turned down the aggression level, at least not at this point. I mean, they are still going at it. We haven't seen as much 3-wide anymore. That'll certainly pick up towards the end, but maybe they do calm down now that, of course, you know, things, you know, the pit stop looks more reasonable now, right? I feel like that's the way to say it. If we get to this one green flag stop, I know I've already said it's going to change the race, but it's different now because you know there's not going to be multiple, so you only have to execute on one pit stop. That means that the aggression might actually get ramped up a little more because drivers are going to be worried about having that track position for this first pit stop. Matt Lee got clear low there into 3 and 4, and Dylan Basin gave him a little bit of a shot through the corner, and that's what you can do right there. Exactly what Dylan just did. You can offer a little shot if you know the driver in front can take it, and if you're perfectly square. But what you don't want to do is try to get, I don't want to say too cute, but you don't want to try to do too much and try to do a lot of pushing through the corners. Maybe a slight bump. Again, as what Dylan Basin did in 3 and 4 there is okay, but just not much need for it right now. These lanes are staying pretty even, and in fact, Lee's going to get clear right there off the nose of Dylan Basin, so he'll jump up. Dylan will go back to the point on the bottom, but they stay 2x2 all the way back through Nash Brambilla and Danny Barnes, and then here comes the 34 of Michael Triscaro. You can see further back, he wants some revenge here. He's looking to see if he can get up top, and looks like he does have a little bit of help too. The cavalry consists of Joey Galati and Aubrey Thompson. Galati's going to go around, gets into the 05 of Joshua McCullough. Is he going to save this one? We got 2 going around. This will draw a caution. Yes, it does. Up into the wall goes the 8. I believe that was Terry Wilson. Yes, it was. He's got pretty heavy right front damage, and looks like, yeah, the suspension, actually the camber itself, is all torn up, so he's going to have to take it to the pits, and doesn't look like he's going to make it around. He'll just bring it in right here and now so he can get it fixed up. Let's see here. See exactly what happens. We'll go back to TV3. I saw something start here with the 661 of Joey Galati. Now, I'm not sure if that's what sparked this whole wreck. I believe it was. Didn't see anything else after that. So here you go. As they get into turn 3, watch Joey Galati. He's pushing Michael Triscaro, and boy, story of what we saw in the SummerSlam is exactly what we saw right there for Joey Galati, and that is getting into the corner, trying to, you know, do a little bit too big of a wheel input down the track, and the back end just can't handle it. Starts to kind of slide out, and then once it does, you just can't catch it in these cars. They are too floaty. It's not like the next gens where you can, you know, feel that and kind of try to snap the car back in shape really quick. When it starts to spin, it's going to spin. In that case, there's just nothing really anybody could do. There you see the 59 of Mark Von Dell. He went for a spin. Boy, it's been a rough night for Mark just getting involved in. Seems like every wreck, none of them have been of his causing, but just hasn't really had anywhere to run. Is like 21 there of William Scott was one of the drivers who got the worst of this. Let's watch his view here from TV1. So he sees it, and oh, he actually gets turned from out back by the 5 of, I believe that's Waring. Yes, it is. That was James Waring, not on the lead lap, so I'm sure that Scott's probably not going to be too happy about that, but that was just part of the wreck. No harm, no foul there for the 5. He was, you know, in fairness, just trying to get checked up, and unfortunately just couldn't quite do it in time. But watch the 8 of Terry Wilson. Once the 21 gets slammed, you're going to see the 8 of Wilson right there, and boy, he had to make an evasive maneuver if I've ever seen one. It was going to be either be plow into the back of James Waring or jump up the racetrack and clobber the outside wall. He chose the latter of the 2, and as a result, it leads to damage for him, but not damage to the 5. See if we can look at this through 3 and 4 here. I mean, this only collects, I think, in total, maybe about 3 or 4 drivers. And Terry Wilson, the gap was there. That's what he was initially shooting for, but unfortunately, by the time that he got there, the gap had closed up, and that's why he had to make that evasive maneuver to the outside that is going to lead to the damage he sustained from this one. This is a look here from the blimp cam, and, you know, again, it's just, watch right here for Joey Galati, and in fact, I take that back. We're going to hop to an onboard view. This is going to do a whole lot of justice in terms of showing you exactly what I'm talking about with, as a driver, when you get loose and how tough it is to save it. And so watch Joey Galati here. This is, again, going to be going into turn 3. He's pushing Michael Triscaro, and watch the wheel inputs there on the left. So he's going to push the 34, creeps up a little bit, and then he tries to put that input back to the left, but you got to have that car set. If you don't, and you try to kind of make that adjustment at that point in the corner, unfortunately, that's going to be the result probably 8 out of 10 times. Still very lucky this one was not a whole lot worse than it was. I did see, again, Mark Von Dell get turned. However, I don't think the damage that he got from this wreck was all that bad, so Mark Vondel should be okay, and they want to make a return back on the racetrack. Back up front, 58 of 100 laps now complete. Dylan Basin currently being scored as your leader. Matt Lee second, Cody Nagels in third, Richard Elliott fourth, and DJ Daniel currently rounds out your top 5. All right, we're going to go ahead and try to send out another broadcast link, but we're going to see if we can't send out potentially another Discord link here. And again, not sure why the one for PGR is not working either. We practice all this stuff, but it certainly seems like it doesn't always work out the way that it goes in practice. So I'll put 2 more links. The first one is going to be for the MMS Money Racing Discord. If it doesn't work, I apologize. I don't think I can really do anything else about trying to make it work. And then, of course, the second one that we're going to post is for the PGR eSports Discord, which is home not only to the PGR eSports Intimidator Super Speedway Series, but also us here on the broadcast booth, PGR eSports. So make sure you check that one out as well. And then they've got a website, so got to put it in there. Don't forget to check that one out either. All right, so it's going to be, looks like 41 laps to go when we take the green. And again, we're still in that range where we're going to need one pit stop. Nobody can make it here on out, but it continues to get closer and closer. Once we get to right around 35 laps to go, any cautions from that point on, that's where it starts to get interesting, because from what we expect, again, you can make it about 30 to 33 laps on fuel. That's kind of the estimate. But if you're up here running, really aggressive, you're going to burn more. If you're further towards the back, you're going to burn less. And that window is going to open up even sooner now. In fact, that window will open up in just about 10 to 11 laps when we go back green. In terms of the earliest you could probably pit to be safe for overtimes. But you can stretch this fuel all the way out to, the low 90s. So that means that final pit stop, if it is under green, would just be for a splash and go. We'll see if anybody decides to go that route. By the way, row 2, Cody Nagels, Richard Elliott. And then you've got DJ Daniels and looks like Jonathan Herbert in row 3. Brian Hennings and Jared Haynes back in row 4. And then Dylan Jones and Landon Velicky rounding out your top 10 and row number 5. By the way, I know we've said it a couple times tonight, but can never acknowledge it enough. If you're just tuning in, we certainly appreciate you being here. If you're new and you like what you see, please do give us a follow. It helps out a ton as PGR eSports continues to grow. And I'm sure you'll hear not only me, but Dawson Wise when he's on the booth, and even Matthew Baker, Michael Triscaro talking about this quite a bit. Is it may be a while from now, but the PGR 500, that's the next thing that everybody's got their eyes on. It's not going to be in these Xfinity cars that we saw in the SummerSlam and we see here tonight, but certainly another event that everybody's going to be getting ready for. As we get ready for the green flag, here we go. Dylan Basin on the inside. The restart will be on him as he rolls into the restart zone. Green flag is back in the air, and it's a pretty even jump for your 2 leaders. Cody Nagels going to try to get to the back bumper of this 11 before the 0 of Richard Elliott. It's able to get to the back bumper of Matthew Lee. As they climb the banking into turn 1, you can see that further back, that outside's a little bit more disorganized than the inside is, which is about 6 cars strong right now. They're going to get some help here because Dylan Jones just jumped up top. And so now, Jonathan Herbert's got to be careful here. He thought about trying to go 3 wide up top. Problem is, if he does that, Dylan Jones will say, I don't think so, and most likely split him to the middle. Before things get too chaotic again, how about a little crank it up here at Talladega? Here we go. All right, and that'll wrap it up for tonight's segment of Crank It Up. I hope everybody did enjoy. Cody Nagels on the point now. Dylan Basin on the outside getting pushed by Matt Lee. 63 of 100 laps complete, and that means that the pay window is starting to get closer and closer for that money stop. Again, the fuel window itself to make it to the finish is going to open up probably right around lap 70, maybe a couple laps before if you had to stretch it. But to play it safe, you might want to wait till at least lap 73, and some drivers, who knows, they may wait longer than that, try to run this thing all the way till the finish, or as close as you can get, which would be somewhere, and again, the low, I don't know about quite making it to the mid-90s, but usually you like to have at least, I'd say probably 10 laps after you've made your pit stop to have a chance to kind of get regrouped, reorganized, and make some moves. So I don't know if we'll see anybody necessarily wait as long as I said in terms of the mid to low 90s before you make that final pit stop. I think it'll be earlier than that, maybe somewhere in the 80s, late 80s even. Right now, Dylan Basin looks like he feels very, very comfortable out in front. Richard Elliott, Jonathan Herbert still sitting 2-3 on the outside, and then the 9 of Dylan Jones. He continues to do, or try to see what he can do here in this outside line. Jared Haynes, Landon Velicki, Kenny Brady, he's made his way back up here again. And then how about Paul Witt? After the damage he sustained in that earlier wreck, looks like he is now making his way back to the front. He's broken inside the top 15. He's looking to break inside the top 10 here pretty soon, as he's now already up to 13. And then Nash Barbilla up top, but looks like Aubrey Thompson and Joshua McCullough, two of the drivers who love to push. They get very aggressive. They are very eager to try to push as soon as possible, but I don't know if it's go time just yet. Certainly could be an option. Don't think it's a bad call. I think if you're up front, it's worth staying up front, but with this pit stop still in play and the chance to still see another caution, I don't think you need to battle too hard for that track position yet. Now, once we get into that fuel window, if we have a caution at any point after that, that's when you've got to go for it. Because any caution after that, nobody's pitting unless they absolutely need fuel. Everybody's going to stay out and try to stretch it. And look at this. Matt Lee, Cody Nagels, and Richard Elliott. They are going to leave the 11 of Dylan Basin all by himself. And that's going to get 1-2 clear. Cody Nagels and Matt Lee are going to reclaim the lead now at Talladega. Matt Lee on point. Richard Elliott, though, is going to try to get back up. He's got a big run. Nagels jumps high. Richard Elliott's going to have no choice but to push him right here. So Elliott will do just that. Jonathan Herbert sitting third on that outside line. He continues to impress. I would say he was potentially one of the underdog picks, but he's been running a lot more of these PGR races. He keeps getting better and better. That's another driver that's going to be a phenomenal underdog win once he's able to capture that first one. I think there'll be a lot more that follow after you get that. I'd say with the first one in general, for any driver, getting the first one in the series, it is elusive. And if you ask Michael Trasquero, I think he would agree with me 100%, because we have seen it not only with him, but a lot of drivers. The talent level's there, but just having everything go right to capture that first win, it's just so tough. And a lot of drivers have come close, but at the same time, a lot of those same drivers have come close, but it's still no cigar. That third lane, it's persistent, although I can't say it's too organized yet, but it's getting a little bit better as Nash Barbilla and Aubrey Thompson continue to push. Michael Trasquero and Trevor Oswanoff, they have now arrived on the scene, and they're going to try to push this third lane to the front. 67 of 100 laps complete. And so what we're going to do is take another quick break, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega.
Have created
Drink Company.
the fastest growing sports drink in history.
We want pride! We want pride! Ladies and gentlemen, we got
This season, we are hydrated. The official sports drink of the UFC. It's on!
Oh, that's good.
played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. 69 of 100 laps complete, and the Mowing in memory 265. Up front, you can tell it is starting to pick up. Dylan Basin still leads the way, but they are 3 wide for multiple rows now. Just about the entire lead pack, as a matter of fact, as you got Dylan Jones leading up top and then Matt Lee in the middle for the moment. And normally this would make sense, right? 30 laps to go. You figure everybody's trying to scramble for that track position, but remember, we've still got a green flag pit stop that we're expecting at some point. Granted, of course, that caution doesn't fly first. So for everybody to be this aggressive, I think that's because a lot of them still have that fast pair in their back pocket. And the risk versus reward is starting to go a little bit more towards the risk side, as they know that if they get in a wreck, they still have that fast repair to use. But man, oh man, Matt Lee, Cody Nagels, they are going to be a tough duo to try to push past here as they continue to stay lined up in the middle. Richard Elliott still there as well, but Dylan Jones with Nash Brambilla up top. This third lane's been sticking around for a while. Usually it gets formed up, goes to the front, maybe 1, maybe 2 drivers get clear, and then it has a tendency to fade out. That is not the case right now, though. Nash Brambilla is continuing to hold Dylan Jones up there, and he's trying to see if he can maybe push him to the lead, if he can line him up right down the backstretch right here. Let's see, the 9, he's got a big push. Cody had to fall off the bumper of Lee just a little bit, but he already had enough of a gap that even though Jones gets even, he's not going to have enough to get clear. And you wonder at this point, now that Lee gets clear at the bottom, does he jump down? Yes, he does. And boy, that was really well coordinated, because Dylan was, he was pretty much clear to jump down, but Cody had just enough of a run as Lee jumped down so that Dylan couldn't get clear. So that keeps the 2 Nightmare teammates out in front, and it leaves Dylan Jones in that third lane. And now you might start to see what happens eventually when those temps get hot, because Dylan Jones is starting to fade here a little bit as his push has kind of gone away. And Nash Brambilla, I think, is trying to kind of cycle the temps. Oh, we got one in the wall further back. What happened here? We still got one in the wall. Trying to gather it back up. Could not tell who that was, or if that was a blinking issue or an actual issue on track. I don't think it was Mark Math, as you see him tail onto the back of this lead group. But now Matt Lee has got him back down to 2x2, at least for the first couple rows. The third lane is now being led by Kenny Brady, who got clear of Dylan Jones and decided to jump up. So that means, again, you've got some fresh temps on this third line. We'll see how well it's able to roll right here. That's another big move from the 96. These moves are getting tighter and tighter. DJ Daniels, in fact, you saw him actually wiggle just a little bit right there as he jumped up to get clear of Matt Lee. Dylan Basin on the bottom. He has now been in the lead in one of these lanes for probably about the last 10 to 15 laps, it seemed like. And at some point, something's got to give. Remember, they're going to have to actually get down single file eventually if they want to make that green flag pit stop. And the fuel window's open now. The fuel window is open. If they were able to pit, if they pit right now, they are going to make it the rest of the way. And so at that point, oh, hold on to it. Oh, Dylan Basin. That was another big moment, this time for the 11 car. As you saw, he actually got 2 tires below that double yellow line. And that apron is unforgiving, but what a job to hold on to it again. Dylan Basin. Oh, now Brian Hennings gets into the 11. Oh, you heard him burp out of the throttle there to allow Dylan Basin to save it. But what that's going to do is bury this inside line. Dylan's going to fade back. Lee, Nagels, and Richard Elliott all get clear and jump to the bottom. And that leaves DJ Daniels up top, getting pushed by Kenny Brady. Dylan Jones is there as well, along with Nash Brambilla. Sean Corbett, he has now returned to the front, and Trevor Oswanoff is looking 3 wide up top. Going to be 25 laps to go here in just a couple laps. And by the way, Trevor Oswanoff, remember, he was a lap down at one point, was able to get that lap back, and now he's back up here in the top 10, potentially fighting to see if he can capture a win here on Friday night. Remember, we've seen him grab a couple wins already over in PGR. And this is good practice, too, by the way, for Sunday. Not necessarily this Sunday, but in general. We're going to see the Xfinity Series a couple times throughout the Little Dog, Big Dog Series Championship. So any extra experience that you can get in any of these money races that utilize the Xfinity cars is going to help you over there as well. Well, I'll tell you what, Trevor's doing a pretty good job here of maintaining momentum on this outside line, even though he's all by himself, and look what that's going to do. That's going to attract a crowd here. A couple drivers choosing to now jump up to the top of the racetrack. First one's going to be the 7 of Jared Haynes, and he gets a big push from Landon Velicki. That will allow that help to arrive a whole lot sooner. And now the question is, can Jared Haynes and Trevor Osnoff have the connection to try to get at least one, if not both of these two cars to the front? That is 3 Supras, by the way, that are on that top lane. 3 Mustangs in the middle, a Supra, a Mustang, and a Chevy on the bottom. This will be officially 25 laps to go. Again, we are still well inside that final fuel window. It's just a matter of when does everybody make that pit stop. I don't think we'll realistically see them until we get within 15 laps to go. I would think somewhere between 15 and 10 laps to go would be a good point to make those pit stops, but everybody's got their preference, and look at this. Dylan Basin said that's enough. He's seen more than he wants to see, and after getting a couple laps led, more than just a couple of handfuls maybe. Oh no, look at this. The 11's going to get spun out as there was an incident that occurred just to his outside as he was dropping to the back, and boy, you talk about bad luck. Dylan Basin, wrong place, wrong time. Oh my goodness. And it's pretty significant damage, too, to the back of this race car. I mean, you talk about, I know I just said it, but that is got to be the definition of wrong place, wrong time. He was getting out of the group to get away from the chaos, and instead he ends up a part of it, as there was 2 cars that got together here. And I think it's going to be the 429 of Paul Witt and the 21 of William H. Scott. Watch this from the chopper view here. And, Paul Witt's just moving up a little bit. And, you know, I think what this was is I think Paul's trying to leave some room there for Dylan Basin. And in fairness to the 21, maybe he doesn't know that the 11's there, but he's just running his line. I mean, you can't fault William Scott here, and it just looks like, well, Paul Witt certainly does come up here a little bit, but at the same time, I think the 21 creeps down just a tad as well. And they're both already running pretty close, so when each driver kind of moves a little bit, one to the left, one to the right, they meet in the middle there, and the 21 is going to get turned down the track, and then just as Dylan Basin goes to merge up, that's when he gets clipped. And see Paul Witt go for a slide through the grass. Doesn't sustain any further damage. Neither does the 21. I don't know if the 11 got hit again either. I know he's certainly going to lose quite a bit of track position, but William Scott and Paul Witt, they certainly got away relatively unscathed after that first hit right there, which did lead to some damage. And, didn't see that initially, but the 05 of Joshua McCullough and Mark Math, they had some contact as well. What I was getting ready to say is I didn't see any further damage for that 21 besides that initial hit, so we'll see if that is fast repair worthy. Again, that's assuming that he's got one. Watch this from the zoomed in view here. And that is probably up there in one of the top 5 most frustrating things that can happen as a driver. Dylan sensed the danger up front, but in reality, the danger ended up being more towards the middle portions of the field. And so we'll go to the gearbox view, and he can actually kind of see this forming up from probably his rear view mirror here. Right there. And once he goes for a spin here, I don't know how he doesn't get hit right there. Actually, he does get clipped just barely by Mark Math. That's what ripped the rear bumper cover off of that race car. And you see the 7 up top of Cosby. He was able to miss it. Now, I don't think there was any further incident, but I guess the best way to make sure is if we look at turn 3 and 4 cam. Yeah, I don't see any further contact there, so lucky break for a lot of drivers. All right, back to the front of the field, 23 laps to go. And so now it's official. Everybody is good to go on fuel the rest of the way. And what does that mean? That means the aggression level is getting ready to ramp up a whole bunch more. It's going to be, looks like, probably 21 laps to go when we actually take the green flag right here. And you've currently got the 56 leading the way. Actually, nope, that's going to be looking like a free pass position as the 56 of Donald Stewart is going to get, hopefully, the wave around. And then Ken McCullough Jr. is actually being scored as your leader right now. That may have been a little bit of strategy play to get up there. Matt Lee in second, Ken McCullough Jr. in third. Or excuse me, mix that up. Ken McCullough Jr. is in first. Matt Lee is in second. Trevor Osnoff back in third. Dylan Jones fourth. Cody Nagels in 5th with Kenny Brady in 6th. Richard Elliott 7th, Brian Hennings in 8th, Sean Corbett 9th. And then you've got Jared Haynes currently rounding out your top 10. All right, well, as we get ready to go back green, let's head over and take a brief look at what the payouts are set up to look like here tonight. Again, this is going to vary a little bit. It was based off of 40 drivers, and the total came in with, I believe it was either 38 or 39. Yep, 38 in total, so going to be pretty close to what they're stated as on the flyer. It was a $20 entry, $150 to first, plus the $50 sponsorship by Jared Haynes with Mowing in memory, so it'll be actually $200 to win this race. $135 to second, $125 to third, and then $110 to fourth, and $100 to fifth and sixth. By the way, 100 laps, pretty long distance, of course, to run for these kind of races, and normally it's kind of a battle of survival, but that's really not been the case here tonight. I know we've had our fair share of cautions, a handful in total, but I mean, overall the racing has been really, really clean, and it has been plenty exciting. We're getting ready to see even more of that now, and you see a couple drivers coasting on the apron here. Trevor Osnoff, one of them, so I wonder if there is potentially some fuel saving going on right here to try to make sure that, I mean, I don't know, though, from the numbers that I'm seeing here, everybody that pit, at least under this caution, should be more than good to go, not just for the rest of the race, but even for some overtimes. So definitely surprised to see anybody potentially pit, as we had one drive off further back. Looks like that's the 21 William Scott, the 7 of Coleman Cosby as well. As they all regroup and catch the field. There goes the 34 Michael Triscaro. And so get your picks in. 21 to go rather. It's crunch time. This is where I want to say kind of the cream rises to the top, but in general, this is where you separate the men from the boys. I mean, 22 laps to go. 21 when we take the green. That gives you, maybe 10 laps to get situated, and then those final 10 laps are going to be an all-out brawl. Trying to gain track position to maintain it, and then don't forget, when we start to get these late cautions, it has a tendency to breed more cautions, and when that happens, you start to run out of time to really make up positions if you're further towards the back. So got to go now. This is what we've been waiting for all night, for everybody to be within that final fuel window so that the intensity could ramp up even more than it's been already. Field in the hands of Ken McCullough Jr. First time that he will be leading a restart here tonight. And here we go. Green flag is back in the air. 21 laps to go at Talladega. Good restart from both lanes as they work their way through 1 and 2. Matt Lee getting a push from Dylan Jones. Ken McCullough Jr. getting pushed by Trevor Osbornoff. And we'll see how long Kenny Brady is willing to be patient. More or less, I'm curious to see how long until that third lane gets going. Again, usually the first person to go out there is kind of we'll say the guinea pig. Sometimes they get the help, sometimes they don't. But then once it gets formed up, that's when a lot more drivers want to start to be takers from that outside. You see 2 or 3 cars lined up. You're watching your mirror, wait until they get pretty close, and you're trying to jump up to block that run and take it all the way to the front. But nobody's moved up just yet. They remain 2 by 2 here, at least for this first lap. First lap back under green, and this will put us now at 20 laps to go. Cody Nagels stuck on the inside. You look at Richard Elliott, Sean Corbett. What do they do here? Do you stick with where you're at, or do you try to change something up? Remember, top 6 payout, I know that sounds like a lot, and right now, it would be the first 3 rows since they're 2 by 2, but when you get 3 wide, that moves it down to just 2 rows. And so you really want to, I always at these super speedways, I think you always want to be in a position where you're either the leader or the lead pusher. Obviously, especially when you get down to the nitty-gritty of the race. But if you're the lead pusher, you're in a good position. And if you're the leader, you're in an even better position. But Trevor Osbornoff and Dylan Jones, they are really in control right now of what both of these lanes do. Matt Lee going to try to see if he can get enough of a push to get clear. But if he doesn't, Ken McCullough Jr. is going to have to start going to work with controlling these lanes, because look at this. That third lane, it's getting formed up, and it's getting formed up in a hurry. Michael Triscaro was leading it off at turn 4, but by the time we get to turn 1, already 3 more cars have jumped up. It's Landon Velicky. Ooh, looks like a couple more, though, jumped down. Jared Haynes is trying to make a decision here. DJ Daniels, he's going to creep up top as well off at turn number 2. 2 by 2 for the first 5 rows. Danny Barnes is going to go around the 7, the Hyper Motorsports machine. He's going to slide, and he will tag the inside wall. Rear end of the race car is going to fall off. doesn't draw the caution as it was only one car and off the racing surface. But for Danny Barnes, oh, now it's going to draw the caution. We have more trouble up front. We very well may here. Yes, we do. A couple cars in the grass. Terry Wilson, one of them, almost goes back up into the outside wall, but he's able to keep it off. That was the 21 of William H. Scott, the other car that we saw going for a ride through the grass. Sixth caution of the night falls with 18 laps to go, and so now we'll get a restart. Looks like within probably about 15 laps to go. So time just continues to wind down here. Let's see where this one gets started. Again, saw Terry Wilson spinning, but not sure if that's exactly where the wreck itself started. Oh, yes, it is. Terry Wilson, and then looks like the 35. I believe that's Zachary. Let's see if it is. Man, that's a big hit for the 35, too. That is indeed Zachary Williams. He kind of got blindsided there. I'm not sure what happened, though, here with Terry Wilson that caused this. I mean, they were kind of well in the back right here. I'm not sure if they just saw something. Oh, it was part of the scramble after Danny Barnes spun. Terry Wilson's got a lot more momentum here than Zachary Williams as they're all trying to merge back up. And 35 gets back on the racetrack and then kind of goes back down. And Terry's just not really sure where he's going to go, I guess, and decides to stay committed to the bottom. I think in this case, maybe for Terry's sake, he should have pulled a little bit higher just in case. You know, give that 35 some room to get back on the track. You know that's what he's got to try to do, especially as you're nearing the turn. But instead, it just looks like kind of drives down into him, for at least from that view. We'll go again and take another angle of this from the chopper view. A little bit more of an aerial shot right here. And watch Terry Wilson. You see, he does get out of the... You see the fire out of the pipes. That means he is lifting right here. But then the 35, I think, is trying to figure out what the 8's doing. But now that they're coming up on the corner, he realizes he's got to get up. And that's, again, a little bit of that kind of unspoken communication there of two drivers not really knowing what the other one was going to do. And then as Terry gets into the grass, this was a really good job right here of getting this thing rolled up, even as he goes back up. Almost takes a big hit off the outside wall, but instead he was able to keep it just off the safer barrier, roll it back down, and get back rolling here. Let's back it up and see what happened to Danny Barnes, which kind of initially sparked this whole checkup that led to everything of what we just saw. Watch it from the blimp cam here as they come off of turn 2. Joshua McCullough just behind, Landon Velicky up top, and a 35 is Zachary Williams on the bottom. Ooh, that's just the 35 trying to save it. Joshua McCullough maybe wiggling a little bit. Those two had gotten together, and that turned the 35 into the 7 of Danny Barnes. So that's what led to that incident. And boy, that's a big break because this was not going to be a caution if they didn't wreck further up as they did. So that was a huge, huge break for Danny Barnes. Otherwise, that could have been a chance at him potentially winning this race over with. As go to the onboard view here for Terry Wilson. Actually, I take that back. Go to the TV3 cam first. And, oh man, Zach Williams, still hate that for him. That's a big, big hit. And I don't know if he has that fast spur left. If he did, I would assume he would have to take it here. And you see that 35, the rear end and the front end, heavily torn up. And like I said, I think he was reacting to what Terry Wilson was doing, and Terry Wilson was reacting to what he was doing, and they just couldn't get it figured out in time. And oh my goodness, the 21 of William H. Scott. I don't know how he missed him. I mean, he may have just clipped him, if anything. And that's why we saw him so out of control, because watch this. He sees him wreck. He's going to jump to the inside. 35 slides down, and oh man, he had to yank the wheel left to just narrowly miss him. And then even Terry Wilson, as he was sliding around, William Scott was trying to figure out what was going on, and does a little drift in here, drifts it right back onto the racetrack, and continues on without any further issue. Well, here we go. Cautions starting to breed cautions, at least a little bit here, as 17 laps to go. Going to be 16 when we cross the line right here. Ken McCullough Jr. still being scored as your leader. Matt Lee second. Trevor Oswanoth third. Cody Nagels in fourth. And Dylan Jones currently rounding out your top 5. As we get the one-to-go signal, lights on the pace car go off. And so it'll be 15 laps to go. And if we get another caution, figure that clicks off another 3 to 4 laps. Now we're within, maybe 10 laps to go. Starting to run out of time. Again, we do have 3rd green, white checkered, so if the end of this race starts to get as chaotic as it might be starting to get right now, we'll have some overtime opportunities available. But Ken McCullough Jr., how cool would this be if he could win in his own series right here? That's the captain for McCullough Motorsports and one of the veterans. I don't even know if we call him veterans or some of the OGs of money racing, but he has been around pretty much since day one, just about. when Money Racing got started. And, you know, maybe people don't care, but one of the interesting things that I actually learned when I kind of got a chance to get into Money Racing was, from what I heard, the whole idea of Money Racing, and, you know, you look at it now and how established it is and the community that surrounds it, how big it is. It actually, from what I heard, started out during COVID, back with, I believe it was the ISSS. Well, I know that not the International Space Station, but I believe it was a series that was street stocks at super speedways and then transitioned into a league at super speedways. And it was kind of just one organization. And then you had a couple other promoters that started to branch out, started to try a couple things different. Next thing you know, fast forward to where we are now, and I mean, hindsight 2020, who would have guessed, right? How big the platform has grown at this point. We've seen some of the big races with the Podium 500s, what those used to be. And of course now with the PGR SummerSlam 499. I remember even when FEG used to host some of the big races where we would see $4,000 to the winner, $2,000 to second place, some of the $90 entries and up. And here we are with, now we see leagues associated with Money Racing and a whole bunch more. Great community, great to see where it's made it to so far, and great to see where it's going to be, and this time even in just a couple of years from now. All right, here we go. Time to go back racing. 15 laps to go. Green flag is back in the air at Talladega. Great jump out of the gate for Ken McCullough Jr., but on the outside, Matt Lee is going to try to match him. Trevor Oswinoff pushing the 03. It looks like he's going to have him clear here. The question is, what does Ken McCullough Jr. do? Does he jump up or does he stay committed to the bottom? Dylan Jones is doing a lot right now to try to keep this 04 even as they race down the Alabama gang backstretch. Still side by side and still too wide. Looks like further back, Joshua McCullough and Nash Brambilla are trying to get something going, but they don't have a whole lot of momentum yet. Jonathan Herbert has now jumped up. So has Paul Witt. Brambilla slotted back in the outside lane. 2x2 off of turn 4. Cody Nagels, Kenny Brady. Watch for those two to maybe think about jumping up to try to go with that third lane if it gets enough momentum and gets established enough to get to the front. Jonathan Herbert's still up there, but he's got to keep that car a little bit lower. You have got to side draft the lane below you if you want to make progress. Matt Lee got clear. You saw him jump to the bottom right here into turn number 1. So that allows Dylan Jones now to cool the temps a little bit, and that'll put Cody Nagels in position of the lead pusher as off of turn 2. Oh, the 04 is going to get turned. Lee is going to get turned off track. He's got it locked down, trying to stop before he gets to the inside wall, and he will be able to do so. He's going to let the car get rolling again. No damage, but a loss of the lead pack for the 04. He just got hooked right there coming off the corner. Oh, now they're going to wreck big. Wrecking big through 3 and 4. Caution is out, and this is the big one. Look at the amount of cars that are going to get collected right here. The 35's in it, the 23. Aubrey Thompson's in it. Looks like Dylan Bason's in it. Paul Witt. Nash Brambilla. Danny Barnes. I can't tell if he snuck through or got some damage. That's the 7 of Coleman Cosby. He's got damage as well. The 8 of Terry Wilson. Man, oh man, that was the one that we were waiting on. We've seen a couple wrecks here tonight, but that was the big one. And 3 and 4 as that collected probably about half of the field. Let's go back and see how it started here. Couldn't tell from any of the initial shots that we had. So we'll move it up here. Does it start right around Nash Brambilla and Jonathan Herbert here? That's what my guess is. Oh, yes, it does. The 87 pushing in the corners. What just happened to Matt Lee? And this is almost similar to the same thing that we saw with Danny Barnes, where gets turned. Well, in that case, it was a little bit different, but in this case, gets turned, and then later on the same lap, the bigger wreck occurs. But I do want to go back first here and look at exactly what goes wrong for Matt Lee. I know he got turned out of line, but I want to make sure everybody at home kind of sees what I'm talking about here. And so we'll watch this from the chopper view and watch the 04 here. He's getting pushed. Ken McCullough Jr. is trying to line him up out of the corner, but he's just got him offset. It has not taken much here tonight. This is, I think, the 3rd time we've seen offset pushing lead to somebody getting turned. And then once Lee gets turned, he does a good job of immediately locking it down, and he gets a little bit lucky here with this car kind of doing a 360 as it spins instead of just going for a straight slide down to the inside wall. It kind of allows him to scrub off a little bit more speed and get the car oriented so that he can get rolling and miss the inside wall. And that might have worked out pretty well because Lee was able to avoid the carnage that happened here in turn number 3, although I guess he would have been in front of it, of course, if it didn't happen. But This all starts with Jonathan Herbert. That's what we saw. He gets turned around just after what we saw back here with Matt Lee. And so watch the 87. Joshua McCullough is going to try to push in the corner, which we said it's do at your own risk. He tries to do it. The 87 from the push into the corner gets kind of sent up a little bit, and then that gets them offset, and Joshua McCullough is not able to get off of him and just turns him around. And that turned the 87 down the track. Once he gets into Ashburn Billa, the wreck's on from here, and I mean, just watch the cars that this one's going to collect. We'll back it up here to give you a better shot of it. But Ashburn Billa, I think, got the worst of this one, or he was certainly up there for some of the drivers that did. All right, here we go. Watch Ashburn Billa in this, as he's going to get kind of the first contact from the 87 here. And Corbett lucky to escape that one. And then he gets down into Veliky, and it's on from there. Joshua McCullough gets up into the wall. Paul Witt takes a huge hit. Larry McDonald, and then Terry Wilson, Dylan Basin, they plow in with absolutely nowhere to go. So they slide back up the racetrack. There's the 69 of Aubrey Thompson. Big hit between him and Joshua McCullough. And then there's Larry McDonald, just again, nowhere to go. The 37 of David Flanagan. He gets involved, the 15. Take a couple more angles at this. Again, this was right in the middle of 3 and 4. And for Joshua McCullough, you know, again, he's not trying to get the 87 turned around. He's just trying to help him out so they can get to the front. By the way, that was a big hit right there, too, from the 7 as he piled in late. But it's just, you can't do it. With as many times as we've seen it here tonight, that's got to be, I mean, the line's got to be drawn somewhere, right? I know you want to win. I know you're trying to get to the front, but if you're somebody getting pushed in the corner, you don't feel comfortable with it, you got to say something, because it's just going to, everybody's just going to keep getting turned around. You know, I get if it's up front on the last lap and, you know, it's a couple drivers that they're used to it, they can deal with it, but right now it doesn't seem like anybody's taking these pushes well. And I can tell you the track temp is certainly not helping. Remember, it was 110 when we started this race, and it hasn't cooled down any more since then. So it's going to be, looks like exactly a 10-lap shootout to decide it. We are going to take another quick break. Be right back for the restart. Stick with us.
Have created
our own drink company.
the fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, the
This season, we are hydrated. The official sports drink of the UFC. It's on! Oh, that's good.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. All right, here we go. Going to be a 10-lap sprint to the finish. 2 decided. Are we done with cautions yet? I don't know about that, but we're getting ready to find out. Ken McCullough Jr., Cody Nagels lead them back into the restart zone. Green flag is back in the air. 10 laps to go, and Ken McCullough Jr. gets a phenomenal jump. This time, he might get clear of Nagels before they get to the line. Yes, he does. But unlike what we saw a lot with drivers earlier, he is not going to jump to the outside, at least not right now, because he is getting a lot of good pushing from Trevor Oswanoff in the 89. What a comeback race for Trevor Oswanoff after being a lap down earlier. He is now in position to potentially not only cash, but even fight for the win in this race. There goes the 34 of Michael Triscaro. Third lane is going to get working, and it's going to get going pretty quick. Well, they tried to get it going, but Michael Triscaro felt like it wasn't quite there yet. He realized that he had Matt Lee behind him, and that 04 wasn't going. He didn't want any part of it, so he jumps back down in line in front of Lee. That leaves Joshua McCullough stranded right now. He's looking for some help, and it looks like Paul Witt further back. He'll now jump to the top as well off of turn 4. Cody Nagel still leading the way on the outside. Ken McCullough Jr. on the inside. They will be side by side as they cross the stripe. And we are now in single digits. 9 laps to go. Kenny Brady pushing on the outside. Brian Hennings third in that lane. Still only 2 cars up top, and they are all the way at the back of this group. It's Joshua McCullough and Paul Witt. They're going to need some more help, or that's exactly what I was going to say, or they're going to need to drop back in line, try to regroup, get a run, wait for these 2 lanes to get a little bit hotter on temps. That may not happen, though, anytime soon because Cody Nagels drops to the bottom. That's going to cycle things through as now Kenny Brady will have a chance to cool. Brian Hennings will move to the lead pusher on the outside, and Ken McCullough Jr. will move to the lead pusher on the inside. Going to be coming to 8 laps to go now. This third lane, they have got to get something going soon, especially if you're further back. Joshua McCullough and Paul Witt, they continue to try to make something happen. Watch for Landon Velicky. Maybe he jumps up, and if he doesn't, and these 2 are able to get far enough, well, never mind. It's going to actually be the 56 of Donald Stewart. He's going to make a move to the top. Joshua McCullough, though, is going to bail. And this is the other problem right here. This won't work. When drivers continue to bail on each other, that third lane just can't seem to get productive. You've got to stay together for a certain amount of time to make anything happen. Ken McCullough Jr. is still leading up front. Oh, here we go. Michael Triscaro, Matt Lee. They timed up the run. They jumped out. They saw the help coming from behind, and now this third lane will get established. Joshua McCullough, he is going to join in on the fight. Looks like as is the 7 of Jared Haynes and multiple others. Side by side up front, but this inside is starting to disintegrate. The 96 of DJ Daniels doesn't have any help, so he's starting to fall off the back bumper of Richard Elliott, but now the 45 of Corbett, he'll drop back to the inside. Michael Triscaro has now drawn even with Kenny Brady as they cross the line to 7 laps to go. And he is going to be even with Ken McCullough Jr. here probably as they come off of turn 2 or as they work down the backstretch. Maybe not. Third lane stalls out just briefly, but they're going to get it back going right here. And watch the momentum here for Michael Triscaro if he can get some help. Dylan Jones pushing on the middle, or excuse me, pushing in the middle. Pushing on the back bumper of Brian Hennings. Ooh, brief checkup here. Hold on to it. Not sure what happened there, but Brian Hennings had a quick little moment right there. As Kenny Brady, oh, huge hit. Upside down goes the 7 of Danny Barnes as Coleman Cosby got into him. Back on all 4 wheels and back down the banking goes Danny Barnes. And that looked like a car that got loose and overcorrected. That puts us under our 8th caution of the night with 6 laps to go. And so now we're going to get a restart with probably 2 or 3 laps to go. All right, let's go back and see what happened here. This was an odd look, but at the same time, I think I have a pretty good idea of, I think he's going to get loose. Coleman Cosby, that is, and then when he does, he's just going to overcorrect here and go pretty much straight right into the fence. That's exactly what it was. You let the audio and everything play through right there just so you could all see exactly what I'm talking about, but he's going to put just a little bit too much wheel input here. Doesn't quite set the... Well, actually, I take that back. So what he does here is he sets the car into the corner. I don't know if he thinks he gets loose or what, but the car's okay right here, but he makes a little bit too much of an adjustment to the right, and then when he tries to compensate back to the left, he just gets the back of the car out of shape, and then he's trying to save it, but overcorrects, and that hit is huge. Look at Danny Barnes up in the air. I think he almost pinwheeled over this car, and there you see the view as they're going to go almost hood to hood. In fact, Danny Barnes goes through the windshield of Coleman Cosby. Certainly the wildest wreck that we've seen here tonight is, we'll give you another angle of this here from the zoomed in view. Watch this hit again for Danny Barnes. There's the overcorrection, and then boom. Oh my goodness, even Coleman Cosby, all 4 tires off the ground for that car as well. Danny Barnes is going to slide along the safer barrier before eventually this car is going to come back down the racetrack, flip back on all 4. For Danny Barnes, I mean, there was nothing he could do. When you overcorrect like that, he's thinking this 7's going to slide to the inside. Watch this. He sees it, says, okay, I'll go high, and then all of a sudden, overcorrection happens, and then he's just along for the ride at this point. So if Danny Barnes, you got to hope he has a fast repair if he was even able to make it back to the pits. The damage that he sustained through this one. Give you another view here. This time, though, let's go to the turn 4, turn 3, turn 4 cam, if you will. Certainly the biggest hit that we've seen all night for Danny Barnes. We'll check in on how he's doing here in just a moment, but looks like actually he may still be sitting in the pits. Yep, sure enough he is. So I think Danny Barnes may have decided to call it a night after that wreck. And as we go back up front, Cody Nagels currently being scored as your leader. Trevor Oswinoth is in second. Ken McCullough Jr. back in third. Kenny Brady fourth. And Richard Elliott rounding out your top 5. Michael Triscaro sixth. Brian Hennings in seventh. DJ Daniels in eighth. Matt Lee ninth. And Sean Corbett rounding out your top 10. Remember, payouts are top 6. Winner looking to take home somewhere around $200 here tonight. And then the payout slowly decrease from there all the way back to that 6th position. So the lights should go off on the pace car this lap, and assuming they do, that'll make it a 3-lap shootout. So it'll be a natural green-white checkered +1. And we still have to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. So we could have a chance to potentially head to overtime. But I wonder how fuel's looking. Shouldn't be a concern from at least the map that I have up here in the booth for any of these drivers, but you never know. We've seen instances before where maybe somebody tried some strategy to get themselves track position. It worked out, but you get late in the race, maybe they don't quite have enough fuel to make it to the end. But I think everybody, at least inside the top 10, top 20, should be good to go. And then everybody else might be topping off, even taking a little bit more fuel, even some tires here at the end, as you never know what can happen. That last lap wreck certainly be a chaotic one. By the way, Ken McCullough Jr., he feels like he's due for one. He continues to have a streak of bad luck. He's been there at the finish. He's been leading on the white flag and just has not worked out. So we'll see if he can turn that around here tonight. He's in great position here. Lead pusher on the inside. We're trying to see if he can get that 89 of Trevor Oswinoth clear for him to potentially jump up the racetrack. You know what? In fact, since we have the chance, let's see how Ken's feeling here before this restart. Hey, Ken, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
All right, we're getting ready for a restart here with 3 to go. And just had to make a brief note on, man, I feel like you are all but due for one here. Seems like, I mean, we looked just last night. You were leading on the white flag lap coming to the checkered. Things don't work out. How you feeling about your chances right here with 3 to go?
All I'm going to do is give Trevor everything I got, and hopefully I don't spin him out. All I can do is just try to go forward.
We know everybody likes to take a different approach, and you know, the question here is what's the mindset in terms of if you get that 89 clear and even yourself clear, do you stick with them here since there's only a couple laps, or if you get the chance, do you try to make the move and go for the win?
You got to go for the win. Every time I enter one of these, I'm not just riding. Got to go for it.
Sounds like a plan. Well, we appreciate you talking to us, Ken. Good luck the rest of the way.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
There you go. Hey, that's the attitude you got to have, especially if you're looking to get things done. Always going for the win, and usually the most aggressive drivers are. Ken, not necessarily one of the most aggressive, but certainly one of the most talented and one of the veterans of the series. He has been around for quite a while on the money racing side, and he knows just about all the tricks that you can pull out of your sleeve. And here we go. 3 laps to go to crown a winner. $200 here tonight. Cody Nagels on the outside. Trevor Oswinoth on the inside. Kenny Brady, Ken McCullough Jr. in row 2. And Richard Elliott and Michael Triscaro in row 3. Can the 34 find victory lane? What about Richard Elliott? Can he return to victory lane here tonight? Here we go. Back into the restart zone. Green flag is in the air. 3 laps to go at Talladega. What a restart from Cody Nagels. He's going to get a great jump along with Kenny Brady and Michael Triscaro. All 3 of those cars are going to clear down in front of Trevor Oswinoth. Boy, that was certainly an odd-looking restart. I don't know if the bottom got caught sleeping or what happened, but look at the disorganization throughout this entire pack. And this is going to get interesting because there's going to be a lot of drivers with big runs right here. The question is going to be, where does everybody take it? Trevor's going to jump to the outside here. He'll push Michael Triscaro. Now Cody Nagels is looking for a block. Oh, he tried to make it work, couldn't do it. Now Trevor's out of shape. He'll hold on to it as Ken McCullough Jr. is going to jump back to the inside of the racetrack. Side by side into turn 3. This will be coming to 2 laps to go. But remember, we've got to make it all the way to the white flag for this race to be official. Cody back out in front. He's going to jump up in front of Michael Triscaro. The 34 is going to try to push him clear, but here comes Matt Lee and Dylan Jones. Stuck on the inside right now is the 03 of Ken McCullough Jr. pushing Kenny Brady. 2 laps to go, and we are 3 by 3 as they cross the stripe. Matt Lee on the high side, but he's only got help from Dylan Jones. He's going to need a little bit more. Lucky for him, here comes the cavalry. Going to get some help. Oh, Kenny Brady gets turned. Kenny Brady gets turned, and this is going to pile him up. The big one, part 2 off at turn 2. We've got hoods flying through the catch fence. Michael Triscaro's torn up, and multiple others here. I think that's Matt Lee, or is that... No, that's Kenny Brady. And the car that got turned with smoke coming out the back. Art Greco's got damage as well. Triscaro's car's crab walking. That's Brambilla, but that's from a different wreck that you see in the 23 further back. And so it looks like the question will be answered. We are headed to overtime. This brings out your 9th caution here of the night. And let's see what sparks this one up. Well, actually, I think we know what sparks it up. The same thing that sparked what seems like the last 3 or 4 cautions. And maybe not all of them, but the point is, we've seen it cause quite a few cautions here tonight, and that's just pushing in the corners. Everybody keeps trying it, and it just has not really worked out well. At least not much from what I've seen. I mean, you know, I know they're doing it a lot more than what we capture via the wrecks, but watch this. Ken McCullough Jr., he's trying everything here to keep Kenny Brady out in front. He's trying to push him, hoping that he can get this one clear, and maybe he'll be able to jump up. But, you know, and this is almost, I'll tell you what, this is almost a carbon copy, actually, earlier of what we saw with Kenny Brady on J.R. Miller. But watch this. Ken McCullough Jr. gets him a little bit offset to the right, and then as he tries to realign here, he gets offset left, and that's the one that's going to do it. As kind of that, I don't want to call it a swipe, even though that's kind of what it is, but as he tries to realign back to the center from left, that's when he kind of hooks him down the track left, and then as Kenny Brady slides up, just nowhere to go here for anybody. And I didn't see if that second, it wasn't quite a second wreck, but it was certainly a byproduct of this first wreck here. They caused Lee and Trisco to wreck. Man, it almost looked like they would have been clear here, but I don't know what sparked this contact here. Was there a little bit of net code here? Watch Trevor Osranoth. There had to have been. That was a weird look, the way that left rear kind of shot out and bounced around the way it did. And then, see, the 81's just going to have nowhere to go. Paul Witt in the same boat. And then as Michael Triscaro slid up, I mean, it was just on from there. Again, this was a big wreck, collected a ton of drivers. Kenny Brady, Sean Corbett gets a little bit of airtime right there as well. Let's look at the TV1 view here. As Brady gets turned and then slides up, Michael Triscaro, he's going to get turned back right into Dylan Jones. That's where he sustains most of his damage. Then he's going to get clipped again here by Larry McDonald, who had nowhere to go. Saw somebody's hood flew through the catch fence. Not sure what happened there, but this is the zoomed in view. And there's that first hit by Kenny Brady. Once, of course, he had nowhere to go, and then, I mean, this probably collects in total maybe 5 to 8 cars. Saw the 88 even pile in. That was Christopher Carter, I believe. Or, excuse me, may not have been Christopher Carter. May have been a different Carter. Yep, Justin Carter. Apologize for that. But, I mean, even off of the turn 2 exit right here, watch this. Gets turned around, and it all happens so fast. There's just nothing you can even do. It's just everybody with the mad scramble to try to miss this wreck, and I know Ken probably feels pretty bad. I know that's not what he's trying to do, but at the same time, I'm sure Kenny Brady and a lot of others are not too happy because they probably don't have their fast repair anymore. But as it stands right now, the 03 is being scored as your leader. Cody Nagels in the 6th and 2nd. Richard Elliott back in 3rd. Paul Witt in 4th. Landon Velicky in 5th with Jonathan Herbert in 6th. Jared Haynes back in 7th. William H. Scott in 8th. Justin Carter 9th. And Matt Lee rounding out your top 10. By the way, make sure you stick around for just a few minutes post-race, as of course we'll go over your race results and then have a chance to speak with your top 3. And after that, that will wrap things up. So if you got to head out, make sure that you do leave a like and a follow for the stream if you did enjoy. One thing, you know what? I'm going to say it. I know they say it's jinxing it, and you never know, but at the same time, I'm proud to say that so far we've had a pretty smooth night in terms of the broadcasting side. Decided to not go with driver cams as I hope to smooth out the broadcast. Seems like it worked out, you know, relatively okay, but still going to be getting the computer looked at on Monday night. And so hopefully we will not have any streaming issues. Excuse me, I think we're going to maybe move it to Tuesday, so hopefully we won't have any streaming issues after that has been solved, and back to regularly scheduled programming on Thursday for PGR. All right, lights are off on the pace car, so that means we will be going back green this lap. And it is, again, overtime, so let's remind you of the rules real quick. Got to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. We have 3 attempts total. This is attempt number 1, and if they do make it to the white flag, there will not be any more cautions thrown. It will be if they wreck, you race through it, and whoever gets through it is going to be your race winner potentially. So looks like Ken McCullough Jr. did indeed get scored on EOL for, I assume, the cause of that last wreck, obviously from what we saw via replay, and that means that Richard Elliott is now going to get shuffled to the lead position on the inside, but Cody Nagels looks like is going to be the actual leader for the restart. So it's a big break for Richard and even a big break for Paul Witt. The problem here for the 429 that I'm a little bit worried about is look at the damage he's got on the front hood of his Toyota Supra. I don't think that's going to fare too well as the lead pusher. I mean, we'll have to see. You never know, but well, I take that back. Boy, did I just get fooled. It's not damage. That's a mix of glare and then the paint scheme. And you can clearly see from this view, it's not damage, but I tell you what, when you zoom it out from here, it looked like a little bit of damage there on the left front. That's just part of the paint scheme for Paul Witt, so I take that back. He's good to go. He's ready to push, and he might be ready to push Richard Elliott right to a win here. All right, so as they make their way off turn 4, everybody is good to go on fuel. That is not a concern either. Look at some of the names, though, up here in the top 10 right now. I mean, you've got Justin Carter, DJ Daniel, Jonathan Herbert, Jared Haynes, Paul Witt. I mean, there's a lot of drivers that could find victory lane in one of the big series for the first time here tonight, depending on how this thing plays out. All right, there goes the pace car down to the pits, and we are ready for overtime. Again, it's going to be the green-white checkered attempt number 1. Field in the hands of Cody Nagels as he works his way into the restart zone. Here we go. 2-lap shootout. Green flag is back in the air at Talladega. And it's a good restart for Cody Nagels off to the races, and he is going to get clear again well before they even get to turn 1. Further back, moves being made already as a lot of drivers trying to get to the top of the racetrack. Nagels is now going to jump to the bottom. That'll open it up top, but not for long. Velicki has got a big run. What's he going to do here? Does he push Nagels or does he split him out 3 wide? He's going to choose to push down the backstretch. Richard Elliott, he gets clear, but he is going to choose to stay low for now. Remember, they've got to get all the way to the white flag, and already the third lane is getting formed up. That's Matt Lee who decides to jump to the outside. He's got a push from Dylan Jones. Side by side by side, can they make it to the white flag? That's the question right now. Richard Elliott still looking very smooth on the bottom with the push from Paul Witt. Nagels and Velicki in the middle, and it's still just Lee and Jones up top. They're going to need a little bit more help, and they're going to get it. DJ Daniels jumps up now looking 4 wide is the 15, but how about this? White flag is in the air, 1 lap to go at Talladega. And they're still dicing it up. A couple of them going to wreck out back. That's the 74, Brian Hennings, that went around up front. Now the help has arrived, and they are 3 by 3 for the lead. Matt Lee's going to poke a nose out in front as they race their way off of turn 2 onto the backstretch. Cody Nagels starts to fade. I'm not sure if Landon Velicki has run out of temps or what, but Matt Lee will get clear of his teammate, and he jumps down. He's going to make it a double move. He'll go all the way to the bottom of the racetrack as Richard Elliott's going to push him off into turn 3. Final time working through turn 4. Can they all keep it clean to the checkered? Down the short chute they go. Matt Lee in front. Cody Nagels in the middle. Dylan Jones up top. They're going to wreck out back, but up front, here they come through the trioval. Matt Lee on the bottom. Nagels in the middle. It'll be a drag race all the way to the checkered. Matt Lee takes it at the line. What a finish for Nightmare Esports. They go 1-2 in a photo finish. Less than 100th of a second. Richard Elliott brings home a podium as he rounds out the 3rd position. But man, what a race and what a finish. Cody Nagels almost was able to get him at the line. And boy, you got to give a tip of the hat too to Landon Velicki for the job he did after it looked like that line had all but disintegrated down the backstretch to be able to regroup and get back up there. There's your 2nd place finisher. There's your 3rd place finisher. And there is your race winner, Cody Nagels. He's going to bring it around, the driver out of Rolla, Missouri. And he is going to burn the house down. Here goes Landon Velicki by. And man, I'll tell you what, as he burns it down, look at the results. And then we'll have to go back and look at a replay of this finish because it was absolutely phenomenal. Matt Lee is your race winner. Cody Nagels. Well, actually, look at this. Excuse me. I had it mixed up. I don't know why I meant to say it. I meant to say Matt Lee was your race winner. When we were panning the cams, I got briefly mixed up, but Matt Lee on the inside got the job done again. He is your race winner. Cody Nagels brings home second, makes it a 1-2 for Nightmare Esports. And then Richard Elliott in third, Landon Velicky in fourth, Dylan Jones in fifth, Jared Haynes in sixth with DJ Daniel in seventh, Paul Witt in eighth, Jonathan Herbert in ninth, and Dylan Basin rounds out your top 10. Justin Carter back in 11th, Donald Stewart in 12th, Sean Corbett 13th with Ken McCullough Jr. in 14th, Larry McDonald 15th, Zachary Williams 16th, Aubrey Thompson in 17th, Joey Galati finishes back in 18th, and rounding out your top 20 here tonight is, looks like Mark Vondell and Nash Brambilla. Joshua McCullough finishes 21st, Brian Hennings in 22nd, William Scott in 23rd, Michael Triscaro in 24th, Ryan Newman 25th with Terry Wilson in 26th, Art Greco 27th, Trevor Osronoff in 28th, 29th, Kenny Brady and Brandon Smith rounding out your top 30. Coleman Cosby finishes 31st, Danny Barnes 32nd, David Flanagan 33rd, Mark Matt 34th, James Waring in 35th, Justin Mills 36th, J.R. Miller 37th, and Danny Eshelman rounds out the field tonight. He finishes in 38. Again, do apologize for that brief mix-up on the cooldown lap. Matt Lee was your winner, though, with the photo finish. Let's go back and take a look at it. All right, so here we go. We're going to go back to the blimp cam first here, and watch as they come to the travel here. Look at the run that Nagels, even Jones is able to get here to hang on with only a push from the 96, but this run all the way to the checkered. I mean, look how close this finish is. Oh my goodness. I mean, that might have been down to the thousandths. It had to be, because it was under a hundredth of a second. We'll go to our photo finish cam here, and we may even have to go frame by frame with just how close this one was. Watch as they come into view right here. Wow, we're going to have to back this up and go frame by frame to see just how close it was. That's the frame before the checkered. Lee is slightly in front, and that is the frame of the checkered. And you can see that Matt Lee is still out in front. Man, oh man. Are you kidding me? What a finish for Nightmare Esports, and what a win for Matt Lee. Look at this again. We're going to play this from TV1. And these drivers, they'll be talking about this one for a week or two. This is one of the best finishes we have seen in quite a while. What a race win for Matt Lee, and what a finish again for Nightmare Esports. All right, well, here's what we're going to do. We are going to go get your top 3 in here for interviews, so stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega. All right, we're going to go ahead and start first here tonight with your third place finisher, and that is Richard Elliott. Let's pull him up. Hey, Richard, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy? And looks like he is currently muted right now, so we'll give him just a moment. See if he can get things sorted out here. Hey, Richard, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy? Looks like currently still has him muted, so maybe getting some things sorted out. Tell you what, we'll put him down and see if we can get an interview with him here after we do your other top 2. And so that'll move us on to your second place finisher for Nightmare Esports. That's Cody Nagels. Cody, this is Austin up in the booth. Got a copy? And still showing muted, and I'm not sure why. I'm thinking this is something to do with setting. Let's try again here. Cody, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy? Yep, so not sure what the deal is right now. But we will put Cody back down here and see if we can maybe adjust a setting here to get this sorted out. Stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, so we'll try this again. Got a couple things sorted out. Hey, Richard, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
I got you, Austin.
Well, you bring home a podium finish. Man, you looked phenomenal here tonight. You got a chance to lead laps. You were up there pushing the leaders. It seemed like pretty much the entirety of the race, and it pays off with a podium finish. What was the mindset tonight? Was there anything different, or did it just feel like maybe the luck portion was on your side?
I didn't get caught up in a wreck, so yeah, luck had something to do with it. I planned on not trying to lose that top 6 group. Try to stay up there all night.
You did just that. Of course, that's what led to the podium finish. But, I mean, let's talk about the end there. You guys come to the white flag. You're 3 wide. What was going through your head? Did you think that that everybody was going to keep it clean to the finish? And, I mean, what was your view of that photo finish?
I was staring at the guy in front of me. I couldn't worry about the outside. I was trying to stay squared up and just pin to him and hope that nobody pinched us or wrecked us going through the tri-oval. And once we kind of got through there, it was just drag race at that point.
Well, to round out a good finish here tonight, before we let you head out, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, my teammates at Barely Able Racing. Heath Job for the new paint job that he put on for tonight. Kenny for putting it on. You guys for broadcasting it. And I'd like to say Matt and Cody. They've actually worked with me a little more, haven't left me out hanging like they used to. So that helps a lot.
Yeah, it certainly does. And you know what else helps? When you get that podium finish and you know that you're going to have a lot of money going into the next race. Well, hey, Richard, we appreciate you talking to us. Again, congrats on the podium finish, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, and now that is going to bring us up to your second place finisher, Cody Nagels. Cody, this is Austin in the booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, I do. You got me now?
Yeah, well, you're part of the Nightmare 1-2 finish, and man, what a finish it was. 1,000th of a second is the official gap we have for scoring. But, I mean, break us down that last lap. Halfway down the back, it looked like the middle lane was going to disintegrate. Next thing you know, Landon Veliky almost pushes you to the win down the front stretch.
Yeah, by the way, I apologize. I don't know what was going on with my headset, so I'm on my phone, so quality's probably not the best. But going back to the race, I seen Matt had a run in the third, and my thought is, well, you know, he's my teammate. If I can get down, I need to take it and give him the middle. But I don't think I was quite clear, but Dylan was pushing Matt good enough that Matt was going to clear me anyway. And I was like, well, just clear all the way down if you get it, and then it'll just set us up for a drag race where we can go 1-2. And yeah, 1-2 finish. Can't really ask for much more. I mean, he had a very good rebound after getting bumper hooked.
Yeah, he certainly did. That was one of the best comebacks that we have seen in quite some time. I mean, a lot of people in the chat even noting it, but focusing back on, you know, not just the last lap, but in general, we had quite a bit of clean racing for 100 laps. I know we didn't see a green flag stop, but especially down to the end there, how often do you get to see a finish where it plays out exactly how you have it planned?
Well, not very often, just because of the nature of what we do with the super speedway stuff. I mean, not very often do you have something, because like under caution, a lot of times, all these teams out here kind of lay out the chessboard, if you will, and the play that they're going to do or how they plan to get all their guys up front. And honestly, that actually is how we had drawn it up, is Matt likely has to go third if there's a run, because there's really no way for him to push and get all those spots through the middle. So he has to just take the run in the third and hope it's enough. And Dylan just, again, he did a fantastic job pushing Matt, and it got Matt clear. And from there, me and Matt were able to just drag race him in the lower line and me in the middle line. So couldn't have really drawn it up any better. And thankfully, at least the front guys didn't wreck. I'm not sure if there was something a little further on back, but very good finish, at least for our team.
Yeah, it certainly was. Well, to round out a good finish for yourself, before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I want to thank you for broadcasting, Kenny for putting on the race. I want to thank everyone at Nightmare Esports, Matt Lee for winning, MartinSports906.com, Martin Sports. If you have any apparel needs, sim racing gloves, anything like that, give a big old shout out to Scott Martin. Reach out to him. Again, it's MartinSports906.com, and I want to thank my parents for watching.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us. Well, again, congrats on the second place finish, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, and now that's going to bring us up to your race winner, the other Nightmare Esports teammate, Matt Lee. Matt, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Boy, that was certainly one of the best comebacks I have seen in quite some time. You go from getting turned around to getting back to the front and winning the race by 1,000th of a second. How did you manage to do it? You go from getting spun, you look like you're out of it with not that many laps to go, and next thing you know, you're up on the third lane clearing for the lead.
Yeah, after I got turned from the front there, like I was back there with Dylan quite a bit, and Dylan's somebody that usually works his way to the front, so I pushed him once and ran out of temp and got wrecked and got in and got my faster pair, and I come out 8th on that restart, and it was like, all right, I had a shot from there. So there was some damaged cars there that, I just took advantage of the run, hoping he'd repay the favor, of me pushing him up there, and he did, and got me a really good push around the top, and, I appreciate it. Cody, stayed up front all night, stayed out of trouble. It was a fun race.
Yeah, it was certainly fun to watch as well. Now, going back to that finish in general, we saw Nightmare get 1-2, and I kind of asked Cody this question. I kind of want to ask you the same question. How often do you get a chance to see something play out quite the way it did there, where you get clear and then you have the option to either get pushed all the way home by your teammate or to go low and see a 1-2 finish for your team?
Yeah, I don't know if I was really even paying attention to that. It was Cody at that point in the middle. You know what I mean? When I got around the top, he was just in the car. It weren't like me and him could do anything to help each other. And then, I saw the momentum coming back on the bottom on, when I had a chance to clear still. And it was like, all right, this is going to give me a shove forward. And then, a drag race to the finish line. What's better? What does anyone love more than a drag race,
You got that right. The people watching certainly like that finish. Well, I'll tell you what, before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Just big shout out to Cody and Paul there. Paul did a good job. Kenny when he was up there. You guys put it on the broadcast. Kenny put it on the race. Everybody that makes these happen. A lot of fun.
Certainly are. And again, congrats on capturing the win here tonight and a photo finish. Thanks for talking to us, Matt, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Austin.
All right. Well, that's just about going to wrap things up here for our coverage tonight of the Mowing in Memory 265 from Talladega Superspeedway. Well, overall, good race, but an even better finish. Didn't disappoint. A photo finish for the Nightmare Esports teammates as they go 1-2, 1,000th of a second. Again, the margin of victory for Matt Lee, but he is your winner. Again, congratulations to him. And as for everybody that tuned in, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed. I'm a happy broadcaster here tonight because we didn't have any issues finally. So hopefully we'll continue to improve on that, get things fixed, and hopefully next week we will be back to where we used to just a couple weeks ago. But again, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. Till next time, have a good night.